The termination papers landed on my desk with deliberate precision, their crisp edges aligned perfectly with the mahogany surface I'd selected myself when we first moved into this office 5 years ago. Effectively immediately, your POSITIONHASB and eliminated. Victoria smirked, her newly manicured nails, paid for with the company credit card, no doubt, tapping against my desk. Jason and I agree you're not a good fit for Nextech's future. I kept my expression neutral as I studied the woman my husband had chosen over me. Victoria Stone, 32, MBA from Wharton, barely, and apparently qualified to be our new chief technology officer, despite having never written a line of code in her life. Her qualifications seemed limited to her ability to seduce married men and her father's connections in venture capital. Jason and you, I repeated slowly, glancing at the patent documents tucked safely in my drawer. The ones for the neural interface technology that comprised 90% of Nextech's value. How thoughtful of you both to consider the company's future. She preened at what she mistook for acceptance. We knew you'd understand, Elise. After all, you're too smart to make this unpleasant. The severance package is generous, 6 months' salary and continued health benefits. More than fair for what was your title again? Technical consultant. Co-founder and chief innovation officer, I corrected mildly, though we both knew she was perfectly aware of my position. The position I'd held since Jason and I started Nextech in our garage 8 years ago, back when he still believed in our dreams more than his own ego. Right, Victoria's smile was sharp as a blade. Well, that's all changing. Jason's restructuring to prepare for our Series C funding. McKenna Ventures is very interested, but they want to see strong leadership. Unified leadership. Unified, meaning Jason and his mistress, while the wife who developed every significant piece of technology got pushed out. Speaking of Jason, I said, reaching for my phone, shouldn't he be here for this conversation? Firing your co-founder seems like something the CEO should handle personally. Victoria's eyes glittered with malice. He thought it would be easier coming from me, less emotional. You know how he hates confrontation. Yes, I knew exactly how my husband of 10 years avoided anything uncomfortable. Like telling me about his affair. Like explaining why company funds were being diverted to a marketing consultant who never produced any campaigns. Like having the courage to face me himself instead of sending his mistress to do his dirty work. I see. I pulled the termination papers closer, pretending to read them while my mind raced through possibilities. And my equity. The lawyers will handle all that, Victoria said dismissively. Something about vesting schedules and buyback clauses. Very complicated. But don't worry, Jason wants to be fair. Fair, like when he'd insisted I put the patents under my personal name rather than the company's, claiming it would be better for tax purposes. I thought he was protecting our interests. Now I realized he'd simply been too lazy to handle the paperwork himself. I'll need time to review these documents, I said, standing slowly. And to transition my projects. Victoria's smile widened. Actually, security is waiting outside to escort you out. Company policy for terminated executives. I'm sure you understand. We've already backed up all your files and reassigned your projects to the new team I'm building. The new team. I wondered if she had any idea what she actually need to run the technology division of a neural interface company. Of course, I agreed, opening my desk drawer and pulling out a few personal items, including the slim folder containing copies of my patent certificates. I wouldn't want to violate company policy. As I packed my belongings into the cardboard box she thoughtfully provided, I noticed Jason hovering outside the glass walls of my office, too cowardly to even make eye contact. 8 years of partnership, 10 years of marriage reduced to him hiding behind a potted plant while his mistress dismantled my life. Oh, one more thing, Victoria said as I headed for the door. The company car needs to be returned by end of business today. And the corporate apartment, well, since that's Jason's primary residence now, you'll need to make other arrangements. I paused, genuinely curious. You're moving into the apartment? Next week, she confirmed with savage satisfaction. Jason thought it would be easier if you heard it from me. He really does care about your feelings, you know. 2 security guards waited outside, Marcus and Tommy, who I'd hired personally 3 years ago. They at least had the decency to look uncomfortable as they escorted me through the offices I'd designed, past the employees I'd recruited and mentored. I'm sorry, Dr. Morrison, Marcus whispered as we waited for the elevator. This isn't right. I patted his arm gently. Don't jeopardize your job for me. You have a family to feed. But I noticed several employees watching from their desks, expressions ranging from shock to anger, particularly my research team, brilliant minds I'd handpicked and nurtured. They knew what my leaving meant for their projects. In the parking garage, I loaded my single box into my personal car, a modest Tesla I'd bought before Jason insisted on German luxury vehicles as befitting our status. As I drove away from the building that had been my second home for 5 years, my phone buzzed with messages. Dr. Amit Patel, my lead neural engineer. This is insane. What do they expect us to do without you? Sarah Kim, our youngest PhD. Please tell me you have a plan. We all know who really runs the tech side. And most surprisingly, Robert McKenna from McKenna Ventures. Heard about NextStech's restructuring. Would love to discuss your next move. Coffee tomorrow. I ignored them all for now, driving instead to the small apartment I'd maintained near my elderly mother. Jason had mocked me for keeping it, calling it a waste of money. But I'd insisted, claiming I needed somewhere quiet to think. Really, I kept it because some part of me had always known this day might come. That evening, I sat at my simple kitchen table with a glass of wine and my laptop, finally allowing myself to process the full scope of what had happened. An email from NextStech's legal team confirmed Victoria's claims. They were invoking a buyback clause for my 30% equity stake, offering a price that would have seemed generous if you didn't know the company's true value. What they didn't know, what Jason had clearly forgotten in his eagerness to move forward with Victoria, was that I'd never signed the intellectual property assignment agreements for my latest patents, the ones for the breakthrough neural mapping algorithm that made our entire platform possible, the ones that our competitors would kill to license. My phone rang. Jason, finally finding his courage after letting me stew for 6 hours. Elise, he began, his voice artificially warm. I hope you understand this is just business. Victoria has connections we need, and... Jason, I interrupted calmly. Do you remember the Neuralink 3.0 presentation for McKenna Ventures next week? Of course. Victoria's handling it now. She's very confident. I'm sure she is. Tell me, has she reviewed the technical specifications? The live demonstration we promised? A pause. She said she's got it covered. Your team is supporting her. My team, who knew perfectly well that the demonstration required my personal authorization codes to access the neural mapping system. Codes I'd changed monthly for security purposes, codes I'd updated just yesterday. That's wonderful, I said sweetly. I'm sure it will go perfectly. By the way, you might want to have legal review the patent assignments for the core technology, just to make sure everything is properly transferred. What are you talking about? His voice sharpened. All company IP belongs to NextStech. All IP developed under employment agreements, yes, but you insisted I file the neural mapping patents independently, remember? For tax purposes, I have the emails where you specifically directed me to keep them in my name. The silence stretched so long, I wondered if he'd hung up. You wouldn't, he finally said. You wouldn't destroy the company out of spite. Destroy it? I'm going to save it. I took a sip of wine, savoring the moment. From itself. Have a good evening, Jason. Give Victoria my regards. I hung up before he could respond, then turned off my phone. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and threats and negotiations. But tonight, I had work to do. I opened my laptop and began drafting an email to my research team, using personal addresses I'd memorized long ago. The subject line was simple, regarding next week's demo and beyond. By morning, I had 17 responses. Every single member of my team expressing frustration with the new management and interest in whatever comes next. Amit was particularly direct. We all know who holds the real keys to this technology. Just say where and when. I scheduled meetings with 3 venture capital firms for the following week, deliberately timing them for the same day as NextStech's crucial presentation to McKenna Ventures. Robert McKenna himself had already confirmed he'd make time for me. On the day of the presentation, I sat in McKenna Ventures' waiting room, scrolling through increasingly frantic texts from Jason. The demo isn't working. Your team says they need authorization codes. This is sabotage. You're destroying everything we built. Please, Elise, at least think about the employees. Finally, my favorite, Victoria says she can fix it. She just needs the patent documentation. I was still smiling when Robert McKenna emerged from the conference room where Next Step's presentation had apparently imploded spectacularly. Dr. Morrison, he greeted me warmly. I hear you might have some interesting technology to discuss. I do, I confirmed, standing to shake his hand. Neural mapping algorithms that make current interfaces look like stone tools. And I have some ideas about the team to develop them. His eyes sharpened with interest. Your non-compete? Only applies to employment with competitors. Nothing about starting my own venture. Jason was very specific about keeping those terms narrow. He didn't want to limit his own options if things didn't work out. Poetic justice, McKenna murmured. Shall we? The meeting went better than I could have hoped. McKenna had done his homework, understanding not just the technology but the dynamics at play. By the end, we had a handshake agreement for seed funding that dwarfed what Nextech was seeking. One question he set as we concluded. Why didn't you fight to stay? With your patents, you could have forced their hand. I considered the question carefully, because they showed me who they really were. Jason chose the easy path, flashy connections over solid innovation. Victoria thinks she can run a tech company on charm and an MBA. They deserve each other, and they deserve what's coming. Which is? Reality. You can't run a neural interface company without understanding neural interfaces. You can't lead a research team you don't respect. And you can't build a future on technology you don't own. McKenna smiled. When do you plan to tell them about the patents? My lawyer is sending the cease and desist letter this afternoon. They have 30 days to stop using my technology or negotiate a licensing agreement. And if they refuse? Then I'll see them in court while I build something better with the team that actually created the technology in the first place. 2 weeks later, the tech press exploded with the news. Nextech co-founder launches rival startup, claims core patent rights. The articles were carefully neutral, but the industry knew what it meant. Without my neural mapping algorithms, Nextech was just another company with big dreams and no way to achieve them. Jason called me repeatedly. I finally answered on the 5th attempt. 30 million, he said without preamble. For the patents and your agreement not to compete. No. 50 million. Jason, you don't have 50 million. You barely have 5 million in runway. And that's if McKenna doesn't pull out entirely, which I hear he's considering. This is my company. The composure finally cracked. We built this together. We did. I agreed. And then you chose to destroy it for a younger woman with connected daddy. How's that working out, by the way? Victoria is, overwhelmed? Out of her depth? Hemorrhaging talent because she treats engineers like replaceable cogs. I'd heard all the stories from my former team, most of whom had already submitted resignations. Who could have predicted that? Please. His voice broke. I made a mistake. We can fix this. Come back. I'll make you CTO, give you full control of technology. Victoria can focus on operations. Victoria, I interrupted, is the woman you chose over me. The woman you sent to fire me. The woman who tried to steal my life's work. There's no coming back from that. Then license the patents. Fair terms, we can coexist. I thought about it. Not because I needed the money, McKenna's funding was more than sufficient, but because despite everything, I didn't want to destroy the employees who'd stayed loyal to the company. I'll consider it, I said finally. Have your lawyer send a proposal. But Jason, the terms will reflect market value. No discounts for old time's sake. The licensing agreement took 3 months to negotiate. By then, I launched MindBridge Technologies with my core team and several new additions. Victoria had lasted exactly 90 days as CTO before being quietly transitioned to a strategic advisor role. Corporate speak for please stop breaking things. The industry watched with fascination as Nextech struggled to maintain relevance while paying hefty licensing fees to the company their co-founder had been forced to create. Meanwhile, MindBridge soared, unencumbered by the dysfunction and ego that had infected my former company. A year later, I stood before a packed auditorium at the Neural Interface Conference, presenting MindBridge's breakthrough in consciousness mapping. In the audience, I spotted Jason and Victoria sitting separately. Their body language told the whole story. The affair that had cost so much had burned out as quickly as it had ignited. After my presentation, Jason approached me during the networking reception. He looked older, worn down by the weight of his choices. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "The consciousness mapping. It's revolutionary." "Thank you." I kept my tone professional. "How's next tech?" "Surviving." "Barely. The board is pressuring me to sell." "I'm sorry to hear that." And I was in a way, not for Jason, but for what we once built together. "I'm sorry too," he said suddenly. "For everything. I threw away the best thing in my life for, I don't even know what. My ego. A midlife crisis. The thrill of something new." "It doesn't matter now," I said gently. "We've both moved on." "You have," he corrected. "I'm stuck in the wreckage of my own making." I didn't disagree. There was nothing left to say. As I turned to leave, he called after me. "The patent thing, keeping them in your name. Did you plan that? Did you know?" I looked back at him, this man I had once loved, who'd shared my dreams and then betrayed them. "I planned for possibility," I said honestly. "You taught me that actually. Always have a backup plan, Elise, remember." He laughed bitterly. "I never thought you'd need one for me." "Neither did I admitted. But here we are." I left him standing there, surrounded by the success he'd thrown away. Victoria found me later by the bar, her designer dress and perfect makeup unable to hide the desperation in her eyes. "I know you hate me," she began without preamble. "But I need a job. Any job. My reputation is," she gestured helplessly, "destroyed?" I supplied. "Because you tried to run a technology company without understanding technology." She flinched but nodded. "I was arrogant. Stupid. I thought connections and an MBA were enough. I thought," she paused, then continued more quietly, "I thought taking your place would make me important. Instead, I just proved how irreplaceable you were." It would have been easy to gloat, to twist the knife a little deeper. But looking at her, really looking, I saw someone who learned a painful lesson about competence versus confidence. "I can't hire you," I said firmly. "That would be inappropriate for everyone involved." But I pulled out a business card. "This is Dr. Sarah Kim. She's launching an educational startup focused on business training for technical industries. She might have a place for someone who's learned the hard way why it matters." Victoria took the card with trembling fingers. "Why would you help me?" "I'm not," I clarified. "I'm helping Sarah. If she decides you have something to offer, that's her choice. But Victoria, don't waste the opportunity. You might not get another." As the conference wound down, I found myself on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city lights. My phone buzzed with congratulations from colleagues, investors, and employees. MindBridge was valued at 10 times what NextEdge had ever been worth. We were changing the world, one neural connection at a time. "Penny, for your thoughts?" I turned to find Amit, my lead engineer and now CTO, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "Just thinking about paths not taken," I said, accepting the glass. "Any regrets?" I considered the question. If Jason hadn't betrayed me, if Victoria hadn't forced me out, would I have eventually left anyway? Would I have found the courage to build something entirely my own? "No," I said finally, "no regrets. Every path led here, to this moment, to what we're building. Even the painful ones. To painful paths and beautiful destinations." Amit toasted. We clinked glasses as the city sparkled below us. Somewhere down there, Jason was probably still trying to salvage Next Tech, and Victoria was hopefully calling Sarah about a second chance. But up here, surrounded by the team that had believed in me when I'd lost everything, I felt only gratitude. They thought they were eliminating me as competition. Instead, they freed me to become something far more powerful, myself, uncompromised and unlimited. The patent had saved my technology, but losing everything else had saved me. And in the end, that was worth more than any company valuation or licensing deal. As I looked toward the future, I knew one thing for certain. The best revenge wasn't destroying those who'd wronged you. It was building something so magnificent that their betrayal became nothing more than a footnote in your success story. And my story, it was just getting started.
The listing popped up on my phone at exactly 3:47 a.m. Tokyo time. I nearly choked on my coffee when I saw my grandmother's Victorian house staring back at me from Zillow, price tag $320,000. My hands trembled as I zoomed in on the familiar wraparound porch where I'd spent countless summer evenings with Gran, drinking sweet tea and watching fireflies dance. I'm Angelina, and that house was supposed to be mine. Not just in the way children assume they'll inherit family treasures, but legally, through a handwritten, notarized will Gran had shown me before I left for my job in Japan 4 years ago. This can't be happening, I muttered, frantically dialing Milena, my best friend back home. The time difference meant nothing now. Mealy, are you there? Someone's selling Gran's house. What? That's impossible. Your name is on the deed. Her voice crackled through the speaker. Apparently not impossible enough. I was already booking a flight home while we talked. I need you to do me a favor. Don't tell anyone I'm coming back. 36 hours later, I stood on the sidewalk in front of my childhood home, staring at the for sale sign that seemed to mock me with its cheerful red letters. The locks had been changed. My key didn't work. The garden Gran had lovingly tended was overgrown, her prized roses fighting for space among the weeds. A sleek BMW pulled into the driveway, and my mother Angela stepped out, freezing when she saw me. Angelina, what are you doing here? Her perfectly maintained smile didn't reach her eyes. Funny, I was about to ask why my house is for sale. She laughed, the sound brittle and false. Your house? Darling, this was your grandmother's home and now it belongs to the family. We all agreed selling was the best option. All agreed? I don't recall being part of that conversation. Well, you've been gone for so long. We couldn't exactly wait forever for you to grace us with your presence. She fumbled with her keys, avoiding my gaze. Why don't you come inside? We can discuss this like adults. The interior felt wrong. The familiar scent of Gran's lavender sachets had been replaced by artificial air freshener. Family photos had been rearranged, and I noticed immediately that the picture of Gran and me at my law school graduation was missing from the hallway. In its place hung a formal portrait of my parents. Where's everyone else? I asked, following her into the kitchen. Your father's at work. Krista's showing the house to some potential buyers with our realtor, Cade. Harmony's at yoga, and Max is, well, somewhere. And Gran's will? What happened to that? Angela's smile tightened. We had it properly reviewed. Everything was left to the family collectively. I'm sorry if you had other expectations, but that's the reality. I could have pulled out my phone right then, shown her the photos I had of the real will, the deed, the trust documents. But 4 years of handling real estate law cases had taught me timing was everything. So I smiled back, matching her false warmth. I see. That must have been difficult for everyone. Relief flooded her features. She thought I was backing down. It was, darling. But we're doing what's best for everyone. You understand, don't you? Of course, I lied smoothly. Mind if I look around? For old time's sake? Just be quick about it. We have another showing in an hour. I walked through each room slowly, cataloging changes and collecting evidence with my phone's camera. In Gran's study, now converted to a home office, I found scattered papers about refinancing and loan applications. Interesting. A text from Milena lit up my screen. Got the property records you asked for. Your name is still on the deed. They're trying to sell something they don't own. I typed back, perfect. Don't do anything yet. I want to see how far they'll take this. Footsteps approached. Krista's voice carried from the hallway, along with a man's smooth tenor. I slipped into the bathroom just as they passed. The family's completely on board with the sale, Krista was saying. Trust me, Cade. There won't be any problems. I waited until they moved downstairs before emerging. On my way out, I paused by the replaced family portrait, studying my parents' practiced smiles. Behind the frame, barely visible, was a corner of the photo it had replaced. My graduation picture with Gran, crumpled and stained with what looked like red ink. Heading out? Angela called from the kitchen. Yes, thanks for letting me look around. I'll be in town for a while, catching up with old friends. How nice, she said, clearly hoping I'd disappear again soon. I walked to my rental car, maintaining perfect composure until I was safely inside. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed Milena again. They have no idea what's coming, do they? She asked. No, I replied, watching the house through my windshield. But they will. I'm going to make sure of it. The memory of Gran's last days hit me as I pulled into First National Bank's parking lot. She'd been so clear, so deliberate about everything. Angelina, come here, sweetheart. Her voice had been weak but determined. There's something we need to discuss before you leave for Tokyo. I'd sat beside her bed, holding her fragile hand while she pointed to the fireproof box on her nightstand. Everything you need is in there, the will, the deed, all of it. I've made sure it's properly notarized. Gran, we don't need to talk about this now, I'd protested. Yes, we do. Your mother, she's always been driven by appearances. And money. I've watched how they treat you, pushing you aside, diminishing your achievements. This house, it's your sanctuary, just like it was mine. Now, 4 years later, I walked into the bank, straight to the safety deposit box I'd rented before leaving. The clerk recognized me immediately. Ms. Angelina, welcome back. It's been a while. Inside the private viewing room, I opened the box with trembling fingers. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The original will, property deed, and trust documents, all bearing Gran's distinctive signature and official notary seals. My phone buzzed, a text from Milena. Open house today at 2 p.m. Want me to do some reconnaissance? No, I replied. I'll handle this one myself. I arrived at the open house wearing oversized sunglasses and a blonde wig from my Tokyo costume party days. The realtor, Cade, was holding court in the living room. As you can see, this property has been in the same family for generations, he announced to the small group of potential buyers. The current owners have decided it's time to pass this beautiful home to a new family who'll appreciate its character. I bit back a laugh. If only they knew. And what about the title history? Asked an elderly man in a golf shirt. Everything's clean? Absolutely pristine, Cade assured him. We have a recently updated will that clearly establishes the selling party's right to transfer ownership. I edged closer, pretending to admire the crown molding while eavesdropping. Speaking of the will, a woman in a business suit interjected. My attorney mentioned something about a previous heir. Cade's smile flickered for just a second. A minor complication that's been fully resolved. The new will supersedes any previous arrangements. I slipped away to Gran's study, now stripped of her beloved books and antiques. A manila folder lay carelessly on the desk, and I couldn't resist peeking inside. There it was, a poorly forged copy of Gran's will, dated just 2 months ago. The signature was close, but not quite right. Someone had clearly studied her handwriting. Excuse me, this area is off limits during the showing. Cade's voice startled me. I turned, keeping my face partially hidden by the wig. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just admiring the woodwork. He ushered me out, but not before I snapped a quick photo of the forged document with my phone. Later that evening, I met Milena at a coffee shop across town. Look at this, I said, showing her the photos. They actually forged her signature. Milena, who worked as a paralegal, studied the images. This is amateur hour. The notary stamp is clearly photocopied. Who did they think would fall for this? Desperate people make desperate choices, I said, stirring my coffee. I visited the county records office today. The property's still in my name, but there's a pending transfer request filed last week. They can't transfer what they don't own, Milena pointed out. No, but they're trying. And look at this. I pulled up the bank records I'd gathered. 3 separate mortgage applications in my parents' names, all using the house as collateral. They're drowning in debt. What's your next move? I took a sip of coffee, remembering Gran's words. The truth always finds its way to the surface, sweetheart. Sometimes you just have to give it a little help. I'm going to attend another showing tomorrow, I said. But this time, I'm bringing copies of the real will. You're not going to confront them directly? Not yet. First, I want to understand exactly how deep this deception goes. Someone had to help them create that forgery. Someone had to file those transfer documents. My phone lit up with a text from Harmony. Are you really back in town? Can we talk? Perfect timing. I showed Milena the message. Looks like my sister's ready to crack. Be careful, Milena warned. Family loyalty can be complicated. I gathered my documents, tucking them safely away in my bag. Trust me, I learned that lesson years ago. But now it's time they learned something too. Karma doesn't forget addresses. As I drove home to my hotel, I passed by Gran's house one more time. The porch light was on, and I could see Krista inside, talking animatedly with Cade. They stood too close for a professional relationship, and suddenly another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Oh, sis, I muttered, what have you gotten yourself into? I found Harmony at her usual spot, the local coffee shop where she taught yoga on weekday mornings. She was alone, nervously shredding a paper napkin into tiny pieces. Thanks for meeting me, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. I wasn't sure you would. Why wouldn't I? We're family, aren't we? I kept my tone light, watching her flinch at the word family. About that. She glanced around the nearly empty cafe. Things have been really messy since you left. I'm starting to see that. Want to tell me what's really going on with the house? Harmony twisted her hands together. It's mostly Krista. She's been pushing really hard for the sale. Her marriage is falling apart, and there are all these credit card bills. And the new will. The one that mysteriously appeared after Gran passed. I don't know anything about that, she said quickly. Too quickly. Harmony, look at me. I waited until she raised her eyes. We used to tell each other everything. Remember when we caught Max stealing from Mom's purse and we covered for him? This is bigger than that. Tears welled in her eyes. Krista said it was the only way. The bank was going to foreclose on her house, and Mom and Dad, they've been borrowing money from everyone. So they decided to steal my inheritance instead. They said you abandoned us, Harmony burst out. You went off to Japan and barely called. Mom said you didn't deserve the house anymore. I pulled out my phone and showed her the text messages, dozens of them, sent to my family over the past 4 years. Holiday wishes, updates about my life, questions about theirs, all unanswered. They blocked my number, I explained quietly. All of them except you, and you never replied either. Harmony's face crumpled. Mom said we had to present a united front, that you'd try to cause trouble. And the realtor? Cade? What's his role in all this? A flash of recognition crossed her face. He and Krista, they're together, have been for months. Her husband doesn't know. The pieces were falling into place. So, Cade helped create the fake will? I don't know exactly. I just know they meet late at night at the house, going through papers in Gran's study. Last week, I heard them arguing about percentages and commission splits. I leaned back, taking this in. Maybe it's for the best, I said carefully, watching her reaction. Maybe the house should be sold. You don't mean that, Harmony whispered. Gran wanted you to have it. I know because... She stopped abruptly. Because what? She reached into her bag with shaking hands and pulled out a crumpled envelope. I found this in Gran's jewelry box 2 months ago. It's her real will. I should have told you, but everyone said you were never coming back. My heart pounded as I looked at the familiar handwriting, now stained with red ink. What happened to it? Krista found me reading it. She got so angry, threw her wine glass across the room. That's what caused the stains. She said if I told anyone, she'd tell Mom about the money I borrowed last year. How much did you borrow? 3,000 for my yoga teacher training. I paid it back, but now they have leverage over you, I finished. Harmony nodded miserably. Everyone's desperate, Angelina. Dad's business is failing. Mom maxed out their credit cards trying to start some online boutique. Max dropped out of college and keeps asking for money. It's like watching a house of cards collapse in slow motion. And they think selling my house will solve everything? They think it's their only option. She grabbed my hand suddenly. Please don't tell them I told you. I can't handle any more drama. Maybe it's time for some drama, I said, standing up. Sometimes things need to fall apart before they can be fixed. What are you going to do? I gathered my things, including the stained will. For now, nothing. Let them think I believe their story. But Harmony? I turned back to her. You might want to distance yourself from what's coming. You're going to expose everything, aren't you? They made their choices. Now they get to live with the consequences. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Krista. Family dinner tonight. Mom insists. 7 p.m. Perfect timing. I texted back. Wouldn't miss it. In my rearview mirror, I saw Harmony still sitting at the cafe table, head in her hands. Part of me felt sorry for her, caught between loyalty and truth, just like when we were kids. But this wasn't about stealing from Mum's purse anymore. This was about justice and karma, and teaching my family that actions have consequences. I drove to my hotel to change for dinner, already planning my approach. They wanted to play Happy Families? Fine. I'd play along, right up until the moment I didn't. Time to set the table, I muttered to myself, and serve what they deserve. This cease and desist letter needs to be perfect, I told Milena as we sat in her law office. One wrong word and they'll find a loophole. Trust me, she said, typing furiously. By the time I'm done, they'll wish they'd never touched that house. She paused, looking up at me. Are you sure you want to go nuclear on this? They're still your family. Family doesn't forge wills or steal inheritances. I pulled out my phone and played the video I'd recorded that morning. Listen to this. In the recording, Cade's voice was clear. Just get your sister's signature on these transfer documents. Once the sale goes through, everyone gets their cut. 10% for me, the rest split between your parents and siblings. Where did you get this? Milena asked, eyes wide. Amazing what people will say when they think they're alone in a real estate office. I smiled. Being Cade's new intern has its perks. You didn't. 2 days now. He's too busy flirting with Krista to notice I'm documenting everything. The forged will, the fake notary stamps, all of it. Milena shook her head admiringly. Remind me never to cross you. My phone buzzed. A text from Max. Hey sis, got a minute? Need to talk. Speaking of family drama, I showed Milena the message. Time to see what baby brother wants. I met Max at the park where we used to play as kids. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes that smelled of stale cigarettes. You look rough, I said, sitting beside him on a bench. Yeah, well, life's rough. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Listen, about the house. What about it? I know what they're doing is wrong. The fake will, the secret meetings. I've seen it all. And you didn't think to tell me? He shifted uncomfortably. They promised me enough money to pay off my gambling debts if I kept quiet. But... He pulled out his phone, showing me photos of documents spread across Grand's desk. I've been taking pictures, everything they've done. Why show me now? Because I'm scared, Angie. Krista's boyfriend, Cade. He's not just a realtor. He's got connections to some sketchy people. I overheard him talking about making problems disappear if anyone tried to stop the sale. I felt a chill despite the warm day. Are you saying he threatened violence? Not directly, but Max finally looked at me. Watch your back, okay? Back at my hotel, I filmed myself sitting at the desk, holding up the original will and deed. If you're watching this, something has happened to me, I said to the camera. These documents prove my legal ownership of 1242 Maple Street, inherited from my grandmother, Serenity Arnold. Any attempt to sell this property is fraudulent. I detailed everything, the forged will, the conspiracy, the threats. After uploading the video to a secure cloud drive, I sent the access link to Milena with instructions to release it if anything happened to me. That's when I heard it, glass breaking in the parking lot. I rushed to my window just in time to see a figure in black running away from my rental car. The passenger window was shattered, and my briefcase was gone. The police arrived within minutes, but I already knew what had been stolen. Gran's original will, which I'd stupidly left in the car while meeting Max. Just a random break-in, the officer suggested, writing his report. Nothing random about it, I muttered after he left. Milena called as I was sweeping up glass. They took the will. Please tell me you have copies. Multiple copies, all safely stored. But this proves they're desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. What's your next move? I watched a familiar BMW cruise slowly past my hotel, Krista's car. Time to accelerate the plan, send that cease and desist letter first thing tomorrow, and, Milena, add a paragraph about criminal harassment and theft. What about the open house this weekend? Oh, I'll be there. I smiled grimly, with copies of everything they stole, plus a few surprises they don't know about yet. My phone lit up with another text from Max. They know you have proof. Be careful, I texted back. Too late for careful. Time for consequences. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window of my hotel room, watching the street below, remembering Gran's words from one of our last conversations. The truth is like water, sweetheart, she'd said. It always finds its way out, no matter how many barriers people put up. I touched the window where my reflection overlapped with the streetlight outside. I hope you're watching, Gran, because what happens next isn't just about the house anymore. It's about justice, and karma's about to make a house call. My phone buzzed one final time. Cade's number. We should talk, privately. Tomorrow morning, your hotel lobby, 8 a.m. I typed back 2 words. I'll be there. Game on. Cade was waiting in the hotel lobby at 7:55 a.m., looking less polished than usual in wrinkled khakis and an untucked shirt. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept much either. Thanks for meeting me, he said, glancing nervously around the nearly empty lobby. Let's make this quick, I replied, choosing a seat with my back to the wall. I have a busy morning ahead. Look, I know you have concerns about the house sale. Concerns? I laughed. That's one way to put it. Another would be evidence of fraud. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. What's your price? Excuse me? To walk away. Name your figure. Everyone has one. I pulled out my phone and pressed record. Are you attempting to bribe me, Cade? He sat back quickly. I'm trying to resolve this situation amicably. Your family is under a lot of financial pressure. My family is committing fraud. With your help. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I slid a copy of his forged documents across the table. I've been working in real estate law for 4 years. Did anyone bother to Google me before trying this amateur hour scheme? The color drained from his face. Where did you get those? Your filing cabinet. You really should lock your office during lunch breaks. I smiled. Your intern says hi, by the way. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Krista. Where are you? Family dinner starts in 30 minutes. Looks like we'll have to cut this short, I said, standing. See you at dinner. What? Oh, didn't Krista tell you? The whole family's gathering tonight. Should be interesting. My mother's dining room was a shrine to forced perfection. Crystal glasses, fine china, and tension thick enough to cut with her sterling silver butter knife. Angelina, you remember where you sit? Angela said, gesturing to my old spot, the wobbly chair no one else would take. Actually, I think I'll take Gran's place tonight. I moved to the head of the table, watching my mother's smile freeze. That's your father's seat now, is it? Funny how quickly things get redistributed in this family. Darius cleared his throat. Let's just have a nice dinner. Absolutely, I agreed, unfolding my napkin. Let's talk about nice things, like how's the house sale going? Krista nearly choked on her wine. It's proceeding. Really? Because I heard there were some complications with the paperwork. Everything's in order, Angela snapped. Pass the potatoes. The potatoes, of course. Speaking of things being passed around. I pulled out a folder. Would anyone like to explain this? Inside were photos of the forged will, the fake notary stamps, and bank documents showing multiple attempted mortgages on the house. Where did you get those? Krista demanded. Does it matter? What matters is that they exist, just like the recording of Cade discussing how to split the proceeds. Max dropped his fork. Harmony suddenly became very interested in her plate. You're bluffing, Angela said, but her hand shook as she reached for her wine. Am I? Should we call Cade and ask him? Oh, wait, he's probably still recovering from our interesting chat this morning. You talked to Cade? Krista's voice rose an octave. We had a lovely discussion about fraud, forgery, and federal crimes. He even tried to bribe me. Wasn't very good at it, though. Darius stood up suddenly. That's enough. This house belongs to the family now. Really? Show me where Gran's will says that. The real one, not your crafting project. You abandoned us, Angela shouted. 4 years without a word. I pulled out my phone, showing the blocked number screen. Funny how that happens when someone blocks your calls. Harmony burst into tears and ran from the table. I heard her retching in the bathroom. You're ruining everything, Krista hissed. We need this money. Should have thought of that before committing multiple felonies. I stood up. By the way, how's your husband? Does he know about you and Cade? The color drained from her face. I'm giving you all one chance, I said, looking around the table. Come clean now. Admit what you did, and maybe we can work something out. Otherwise... Otherwise what? Max asked quietly. Otherwise, I have a meeting with the district attorney tomorrow morning. Your choice. Angela laughed bitterly. You'd send your own family to jail? You stopped being family the moment you tried to steal my inheritance. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and don't bother trying to destroy any more evidence. I have copies of everything. As I walked out, I heard Krista's voice crack. Mom, what are we going to do? I sat in my car, hands shaking slightly as I texted Milena. It's done. They know. Her response came quickly. You okay? I looked back at the house where I'd grown up, where Gran had raised me to believe in truth and justice. No, I typed back, but I will be. The war had officially begun. The open house was in full swing when I arrived. Potential buyers milled around the front yard, clutching glossy brochures featuring my grandmother's home. Cade stood on the porch, his practiced smile faltering when he saw me step out of my car. I dressed for battle, charcoal grey power suit, red bottom heels, and Gran's pearl necklace. Milena walked beside me, carrying a leather briefcase filled with documents. 2 uniformed police officers followed a few steps behind. What are you doing here? Cade hissed as I approached. I live here, I replied loudly enough for nearby buyers to hear. Well, technically, I own here. A middle-aged couple turned to look at us. The woman frowned. Own? The listing agent said this was a clear title sale. Did he? I smiled. How interesting. Officer Roberts, would you mind sharing what you found in the property records? The older officer stepped forward. According to county records, this property is solely owned by Angelina through an irrevocable trust established by Serenity Arnold. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cade's face reddened. There must be some mistake. The only mistake, I cut in, was thinking you could sell something that doesn't belong to you. Krista burst through the front door, freezing when she saw the officers. What's going on? Just having a little title discussion, I said sweetly. Want to tell everyone about the forged will, or should I? The prospective buyers started backing away. One man pulled out his phone, presumably to call his lawyer. You can't do this, Krista said through clenched teeth. Actually, I can. Milena, my friend, opened the briefcase and began distributing copies of the real will and property deed to the remaining buyers. As you can see, Milena announced, any sale of this property would be fraudulent. The current listing is illegal, and the supposed sellers have no right to transfer ownership. This is ridiculous, Cade sputtered. I have documentation. You mean this documentation? I pulled out the forged will. The one with the photocopied notary stamp? Or maybe you'd like to explain the backdated transfer papers I found in your office while working as your intern. A woman in an expensive suit gasped. Is this some kind of scam? Not anymore, Officer Roberts said. Mr. Miller, we'll need you to come down to the station to answer some questions about these documents. Cade's professional demeanor cracked. You set me up. No, you set yourself up. I just gathered the evidence. The front door flew open again. My parents rushed out, stopping short at the scene before them. What have you done? Angela demanded. Expose the truth, like I promised at dinner. Potential buyers were leaving in droves now. One man paused to rip his brochure in half before throwing it at Cade's feet. You've ruined everything! Krista screamed, lunging at me. Officer Roberts caught her arm. Ma'am, I wouldn't advise assault charges on top of the fraud investigation. Fraud investigation? My father's voice shook. Did you really think you could forge legal documents and sell a house you don't own without consequences? I asked. Milena handed the second officer a thick file. Here's everything. The forged will, fake transfer documents, recorded conversations about the conspiracy, and evidence of attempted mortgage fraud. This is a family matter, Angela tried, her society smile cracking. Surely we can discuss this privately. We're past discussion, I said. You had your chance at dinner last night. Cade was being handcuffed now, his realtor's badge removed. Krista, don't say anything. Call my lawyer. Your lawyer might be busy, I noted. The State Real Estate Board is very interested in your recent activities. The police led Cade to their car while curious neighbors gathered to watch. Krista collapsed onto the porch steps, mascara running down her face. What happens now? Max asked quietly. He'd been standing in the doorway, watching everything unfold. Now, I walked past my shell-shocked family and unlocked the front door with my key, the original one Gran had given me. Now I'm going home, and you're all leaving. You can't just throw us out, Angela protested. Actually, I can. Officer Roberts has a trespassing order ready if needed. Harmony appeared from around the side of the house. I packed some bags, she said softly. They're in the garage. You knew about this, Krista demanded. I told her to be ready, I confirmed. She's the only one who showed any remorse. My family stood frozen on the porch as I walked inside, Milena beside me. The house seemed to exhale, like it had been holding its breath, waiting for this moment. "You have 1 hour to collect your things," I called out. "After that, the locks are being changed. Again." As they shuffled inside to gather their belongings, I sat in Gran's favorite chair, running my fingers over the worn armrests. "You okay?" Milena asked. "Ask me tomorrow," I replied, watching my family's empire crumble one box at a time. The aftermath was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. 1 week after the open house disaster, I sat in my lawyer's office while my family filed in, looking defeated. Their lawyer, a nervous man with a crooked tie, kept checking his phone. "Let's begin," my attorney said, spreading documents across the conference table. "We're here to discuss the terms of settlement regarding the attempted fraudulent sale of 1242 Maple Street." "This is unnecessary," Angela interrupted. "We're family. We can work this out privately." "Family?" I laughed. "Is that what you call people who forge wills and steal inheritances?" "We were desperate," Krista whispered. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, and her engagement ring was noticeably absent. Everything was falling apart. "So you decided to take what was mine? How's that working out for you?" Their lawyer cleared his throat. "My clients are willing to sign statements acknowledging the rightful ownership of the property." "That's just the beginning," my attorney replied, pulling out more papers. "We have documented evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery of legal documents, and attempted grand theft. The district attorney is very interested in pursuing criminal charges." Darius slumped in his chair. "What do you want from us?" "The truth, all of it. Starting with who came up with this brilliant plan." The room fell silent. Finally, Angela spoke, her voice barely audible. "It was my idea." "Mom!" Krista gasped. "Tell them everything," Angela continued, suddenly looking every bit her age. I started a business, an online boutique using Serenity's name. I thought it would be successful, honor her memory. But it failed. We lost everything." "So you decided to steal my house?" "We thought you'd never come back." Angela's composure cracked. "You were in Japan, building your perfect life, while we were drowning in debt. The house was just sitting there." "Just sitting there? It was my home. The only place I felt safe when you were too busy criticizing my choices to be actual parents." Krista started crying. "I met Cade at a real estate seminar. He said he knew people who could help create new documents, make the sale look legitimate. We were going to split the money, pay off our debts, and live happily ever after?" I shook my head. "How's that working out? How's your husband taking the news about your affair?" "He's filing for divorce," she whispered. "The DA's office is offering a deal," my attorney interjected. "In exchange for full confessions and testimony against Mr. Miller regarding the forged documents, they'll consider reduced charges." "Reduced to what?" Max asked. "Probation, fines, and mandatory restitution payments. But only if everyone cooperates fully." "And if we don't?" Darius challenged. I leaned forward. "Then I press full charges, and you can explain to your country club friends why you're wearing orange jumpsuits." Harmony, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "I'll testify. About everything. The wine-stained will, the late-night meetings, all of it." "Harmony!" Angela looked betrayed. "No, Mom, this has to stop. Gran would be ashamed of what we've become." My attorney pushed forward a stack of documents. "Sign these confessions and cooperation agreements. Now." One by one they signed. Angela's hand shook so badly she could barely write her name. "There's one more thing," I said as they finished. "I want you to look at this." I played the video on my phone. Security camera footage from Gran's study the night before she died. In it, Angela and Krista searched through drawers, pulling out papers. "You were looking for the will even before she passed," I said quietly. "You were planning this all along." "We were protecting the family legacy," Angela tried to explain. "No, You were protecting your lifestyle. Well, guess what? Legacy destroyed. Hope it was worth it. What happens now? Max asked. Now? You all leave. Move far away. If I see any of you near my house again, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. But where will we go? Angela's voice quavered. Not my problem. You've got 30 days to clear out of town before I file these confessions with the DA. I suggest you use that time wisely. As they filed out, Harmony lingered. I really am sorry, she said. I should have told you sooner. Yes, you should have, but at least you told the truth eventually. That's something. Once they were gone, my attorney smiled. That went better than expected. Did it? I stared at the signed confessions. They're still my family. Family who tried to steal everything from you. I know. I gathered the documents. Send copies to the DA and draft that restraining order we discussed. Walking out into the sunshine, I felt lighter somehow. My phone buzzed. A text from Milena. Done? Done, I replied. They signed everything. Coming over to celebrate? I looked at the stack of confessions in my hand, proof of my family's betrayal and their eventual karma. No, I texted back. I need to go home. My real home. Gran's roses need tending. Sometimes victory tastes bittersweet, but at least it tastes like truth. The autumn breeze carried the scent of freshly turned soil as I planted the last of Gran's heritage roses. The garden was coming back to life, just like she always said it would, with proper care and patience. My phone buzzed. A news alert about Cade's sentencing. 3 years for fraud and conspiracy, plus permanent revocation of his real estate license. Justice served, if a bit late. Need help with those roses? Harmony's voice startled me. She stood at the garden gate, looking uncertain. I thought you were moving to Seattle. I am. Tomorrow. She shifted her weight. But I found something in my old boxes. Something you should have. She pulled out a small jewelry box, tarnished silver with Gran's initials. Inside was a letter, the paper yellowed with age. Where did you find this? Behind Gran's vanity when I was packing. It's addressed to you. My hands trembled as I unfolded the paper, recognizing Gran's elegant handwriting. My dearest Angelina, if you're reading this, then what I feared has come to pass. Your mother never understood that wealth isn't about money. It's about the richness of character. I've watched her influence poison this family for years, turning siblings against each other, measuring love in dollars and cents. The house is yours, not just because of a will, but because you're the only one who sees it as a home rather than an asset. If they betray you, let the house protect you. Its walls hold generations of truth and strength. But remember this, revenge might be sweet, but peace is sweeter. Once justice is served, learn to live again. Plant new roses. Make new memories. Don't let their darkness dim your light. All my love. Gran. I looked up to find Harmony crying. She knew, she said softly. She knew what Mom would do. She knew a lot of things. I tucked the letter into my pocket. Want to help me with these roses? We worked in silence for a while, our hands in the dirt, just like when we were kids. I heard from Krista, Harmony said eventually. She's moving to Florida. Divorce is final. And Mom and Dad? Arizona, some retirement community. Max is in rehab. I nodded, patting soil around a particularly stubborn root. Good. Fresh starts all around. What about you? Will you stay here? Where else would I go? This is home. The doorbell rang. Milena with takeout and wine. She saw Harmony and raised an eyebrow. It's okay, I said. She's leaving tomorrow. We're just finishing the garden. Well, I brought enough food for an army. Join us? Over dinner on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold, Harmony asked the question I'd been avoiding. Do you think you'll ever forgive them? I swirled the wine in my glass, thinking of Gran's letter. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting or inviting people back into your life. But the anger, Harmony pressed, how do you let it go? By living well, by making this house a home again, by planting roses that'll bloom next spring. Milena raised her glass. To Karma, she's slow but thorough. To Gran, I added, who saw it all coming. To fresh starts, Harmony finished quietly. After they left, I sat on the porch swing, the same one where Gran used to tell me stories about family, loyalty, and truth. The house creaked softly in the evening breeze, familiar and comforting. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. I'm sorry for everything. Mom. I deleted it without responding. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Instead, I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear Reddit, you asked for an update on my family trying to steal my inheritance. Well, karma finally came through. The porch light flickered, an old electrical quirk Gran never fixed. Some things in the house I'd leave exactly as they were, little reminders of her presence. Others would change, making room for new memories, new stories. A car drove past slowly, probably neighbors curious about the renovation work. Let them look. Let them see the house coming back to life, the garden blooming again, the light in the windows burning bright against the darkness. I touched Gran's pearl necklace, still around my neck, and smiled. She was right. Peace is sweeter than revenge, but sometimes you need a little revenge to find your way to peace. The night air carried the scent of freshly planted roses, promising blooms to come. Tomorrow would bring more work, more healing, more life. But for now, I sat in the quiet evening, feeling the house embrace me like a long-awaited hug. Home. Finally. Truly home. And this time, no one could take it away.
The day my parents sold my car to fund my brother's Ibiza vacation was the day I stopped believing in family loyalty. I stood in our driveway, watching Dad hand over the keys to some stranger with cash, the same keys he'd dangled in front of me at graduation, with the promise, just 6 more months of payments, Whitney, and she's all yours. I'm Whitney, by the way. The responsible one, the quiet one, the one who worked part-time through college, made Dean's List, and landed a decent HR job right after graduation. I'm also the one who's been walking 40 minutes to the bus stop every morning because my brother Royal needed to find himself on a Mediterranean beach. You're being dramatic, Mom said when I confronted her about the car. She was folding Royal's laundry, something she hadn't done for me since I was 12. Your brother needs this opportunity. You know how sensitive he is. Sensitive? I laughed. He dropped out of college after 1 semester because his roommate didn't appreciate his creative energy. How is that sensitive? That's exactly what I mean. Mom pressed one of Royal's designer t-shirts to her chest. He's an artist, Whitney. He sees the world differently. He sees the world through everyone else's wallet, I muttered. Dad walked in then, his face already set in that stern expression he reserved for my attitude problems. Young lady, this family works as a unit, he said. Sometimes we all need to make sacrifices for each other. When has Royal ever sacrificed anything for me? The silence that followed was deafening. Mom busied herself with the laundry while Dad crossed his arms, waiting for me to back down like I always did. Not this time. Remember when I was sick with the flu? I pressed on. I was 10, and you still made me clean the house while Royal played Xbox right next to me. He couldn't even pause his game to get me water. That was different, Mom jumped in. He was studying for a math test that week. He was playing Grand Theft Auto. I remember because he kept running over pedestrians and laughing while I scrubbed the bathroom floor. Dad's face darkened. That's enough. You're 25 years old, Whitney. Act like it. I am acting like it. I'm the only one here who seems to understand that actions have consequences. I stormed out of the living room and up to the second floor, seeking refuge in the one place that always felt safe. Grandma Evelyn's old room. She passed away 3 months ago, but Mom hadn't touched anything yet. Said she wasn't ready. More likely she was waiting for Royal to come home and claim whatever he wanted first. The familiar scent of lavender and old books wrapped around me as I sat on Grandma's bed. She was the only one who ever really saw me, really listened. Even in her final days, she'd squeeze my hand and whisper, "Patience, dear heart, your time is coming." I noticed a thick envelope poking out from under her jewelry box. Strange, I thought we'd gathered all her important papers weeks ago. The paper was expensive, legal-looking, with the return address of Harrison and Myers, attorneys at law. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a deed to this house, with my name on it. The document was crystal clear. Upon my 25th birthday, exactly 10 days from now, the entire property would transfer to me. No conditions, no splits, no family votes. Just me. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Family meeting tonight. We need to discuss Royal's homecoming party next weekend. The whole neighborhood's coming." I looked at the deed again, then back at the text. My birthday and Royal's party were on the same day. Another buzz. "Actually, honey, maybe skip the meeting. You seem stressed lately, and we need positive energy for planning. You understand?" I did understand. Finally, I understood everything. Grandma's voice echoed in my head. "Your time is coming." I carefully folded the deed and slipped it into my purse. For the first time in my life, I felt something new stirring in my chest. Not the usual hurt, not the familiar resignation. Power. I took one last look around Grandma's room, at the faded wallpaper and worn carpet that would soon be mine to change or keep as I pleased. "Thank you, Grandma," I whispered. "I won't waste this." As I walked down the stairs, I heard Mom on the phone, probably with another party guest. "Oh, yes, it'll be wonderful. Royal's finally coming home. The prodigal son returns." I smiled to myself. Let them plan their party. Let them celebrate their golden child. They had no idea what else was coming home to roost. "You've got to be kidding me." Charlotte stared at me across our tiny apartment kitchen, coffee mug frozen halfway to her mouth. "They actually uninvited you from your own brother's party? At your family home? On your birthday?" I nodded, pushing my scrambled eggs around my plate. Mom said, and I quote, "Your negative energy might spoil the atmosphere." "Your negative energy?" Charlotte slammed her mug down. "What about Royal's negative bank balance? Or your parents' negative parenting skills?" "Apparently those don't count." I pulled out my phone and read Mom's latest text. "We just think it's best if you sit this one out, honey. Royal's been through so much lately, and he needs this celebration to be perfect. Maybe we can do something small for your birthday next week." Charlotte grabbed my phone and typed furiously, "Don't!" I reached for it. "What are you writing?" "Nothing yet, but I've got a few choice words in mind." She handed it back. "Whitney, you can't let them keep treating you like this." "I know." I smiled for the first time that morning. "And I won't." I pulled the deed from my bag and handed it to her. Charlotte's eyes widened as she read. "Holy... is this real?" "I'm meeting with Grandma's lawyer today to confirm everything. The law office of Harrison and Myers was exactly what you'd expect. All mahogany and leather-bound books. Mr. Harrison himself was a kind-faced man who'd handled my grandmother's affairs for decades. "Your grandmother was very specific about this arrangement," he said, sliding the paperwork across his desk. "The house transfers to you completely on your 25th birthday. Your parents were never added to the deed. They've essentially been living there on your grandmother's goodwill all these years. Can they fight it?" "They can try," he smiled, "but they won't win. Everything's ironclad. Mrs. Lawson knew exactly what she was doing. I bet she did. Grandma always said she played the long game. When I got to work, Leo was waiting by my desk with his usual coffee offering. "You look like you're plotting something," he said, studying my face. "What makes you say that?" "You've got that look my sister gets right before she destroys someone in court." He sat on the edge of my desk. "Want to talk about it?" I hesitated. Leo had been nothing but kind since I started working here, but this felt too personal. Let's just say, hypothetically, if someone had treated you like a doormat your whole life, and you suddenly had the power to show them exactly how it feels, would you use it? He thought for a moment. Hypothetically, I'd say revenge isn't always about cruelty. Sometimes it's justice with better timing. I turned those words over in my mind all day. That evening, I drove to my parents' house, soon to be my house, and sat in the car, watching. Mom was directing Dad and two neighbours as they hung fairy lights across the porch. Royal's homecoming would look like a magazine spread, of course. My phone buzzed. Royal. "Hey, sis. Heard you're being difficult about the party. Can't you just be cool for once?" 22 years of memories flooded back. Royal borrowing my textbook money for concert tickets. Royal breaking my science project the night before it was due because he was practicing parkour in the house. Royal getting a car for his 16th birthday while I got a lecture about patience. I typed back, "Don't worry, I won't be there to ruin your special day." Let them party. Let them celebrate. Let them think they've won again. Back home, Charlotte was waiting with takeout and a determined expression. "So, what's the plan?" "First, I need to get copies of every financial document from the last 5 years. Then I need to talk to the bank about mortgage payments. And then..." I pulled out a legal pad. "I need to draft an eviction notice." "An eviction notice?" Charlotte's eyes lit up. "Oh, this is going to be good." "They want a perfect party?" I started writing. "I'll give them one they'll never forget." My phone buzzed again. Mom sending party planning updates to the family group chat. Pictures of decorations, menu items, even a custom playlist. Everything Royal could want. I muted the chat and opened my calendar instead, marking the date. My birthday, the party, and the day the house becomes mine. 3 celebrations in one. "You know they're going to hate you for this," Charlotte said softly. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my feelings to keep the peace. All the times I'd dimmed my light so Royal could shine brighter. All the years of family comes first, really meaning Royal comes first. "They already hate who I really am," I said. "Might as well give them a reason." I picked up my pen and started writing the eviction notice, Grandma's voice echoing in my head. "Sometimes the biggest act of self-love is simply standing your ground." Grandma Evelyn's journal was bound in worn blue leather, its pages filled with her elegant handwriting. I found it while going through the last box of her belongings, tucked beneath old photographs and birthday cards I'd made her. "You won't believe what I just found," I said into my phone. "What?" Charlotte's voice crackled through the speaker. Grandma kept a journal, and I flipped through the pages. She wrote about everything. The most recent entries were from just weeks before she died. My hands shook as I read. Today, I watched Teresa praise Royal for making his own breakfast, at 22, while Whitney quietly paid their electric bill without a word of thanks. The girl has been carrying this family's burden since she could walk, and they don't even see it. Read me more, Charlotte urged. I turned to an entry from last year. Curtis asked Whitney for her college fund today. Said Royal had an emergency in Florida. She doesn't know they've been giving him her money for years. My heart breaks for her. The phone slipped from my hand. Whitney? Charlotte's voice seemed far away. What's wrong? My college fund, I whispered. They took my college fund. That explained the mysterious financial aid mix-up freshman year. Why I had to take out extra loans. Why Dad kept changing the subject when I asked about the money Grandma had set aside for my education. They'd given it to Royal. I drove to my parents' house in a daze, clutching the journal. Dad was in the driveway, washing his car. Whitney? He looked surprised. What are you doing here? Where's Mom? Inside, but I walked past him into the kitchen. Mom was sorting through party supplies, surrounded by shopping bags. Oh, she said when she saw me. I thought we agreed you'd give us space until after the party. My college fund. My voice was steady, despite the rage building in my chest. What happened to it? The color drained from her face. Who told you about that? Does it matter? I want the truth. Dad appeared behind me. Now isn't the time. It's never the time. I slammed Grandma's journal on the counter. Royal needed money in Florida? For what? Mom and Dad exchanged looks. Your brother had a business opportunity, Dad said carefully. A startup company. A pyramid scheme, Mom interrupted, surprising us both. It was a pyramid scheme. He lost everything in 2 weeks. I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. And you just gave him my money? Without asking? Without telling me? He was desperate, Dad defended. And you're so capable, Whitney. We knew you'd figure something out. Capable? The word tasted bitter. I was capable of taking out loans, capable of working 2 jobs, capable of eating ramen for dinner while Royal posted Instagram stories from South Beach. You're being dramatic again. Mom sighed, turning back to her party supplies. What's done is done, and please don't mention this at the party. Royal feels very sensitive about his business ventures. I picked up one of her shopping bags. Catering from Le Petit Bistro? That's $200 per person. It's your brother's favorite. Was it his favorite when I had to skip lunch to make my loan payments? Mom slammed a roll of streamers down. Enough! I don't understand why you're always competing with your brother. He needs our support right now. And I didn't? You've always been stronger, Dad said, like it was a compliment. I opened Grandma's journal to another page and read aloud. Watched little Whitney clean the entire house with a fever today. Teresa said she needed to learn responsibility. Meanwhile, Royal couldn't even bring his own dishes to the sink. They're breaking that girl's spirit piece by piece, and they don't even know it. Mom's hands trembled. Your grandmother didn't understand. She understood perfectly. I closed the journal. She saw everything. Whitney, Dad's voice held a warning. Think very carefully about your next move. Family is all we have. I looked around the kitchen at the expensive party supplies and gourmet food orders, at the parents who saw my independence as an excuse to give everything to my brother. No, I said quietly. Family is what you choose, and in 10 days, I'm choosing differently. I walked out, ignoring their calls. In the driveway, I passed Royal's old baseball trophies in the garbage, probably cleared out to make room for whatever souvenirs he brought back from Ibiza. My phone buzzed with a text from Leo. "Coffee tomorrow? You look like you could use a friend." I smiled despite everything. At least some people saw me clearly. Another text came through, this time from Royal. "Mom says you're causing drama again. Can't you just be happy for me for once?" I looked at his message, then at Grandma's journal in my passenger seat. "Oh, I'm going to be very happy," I whispered, "just not in the way you expect." "Happy birthday to me," I whispered, watching the notary stamp the final document. The eviction notice lay on my kitchen table, official and irreversible. Charlotte paced behind me, practically vibrating with excitement. "I can't believe this is really happening. What time does the party start? 7? I checked my watch. "Which gives me exactly 9 hours to decide if I'm really going through with this." "Oh, you're going through with it?" She picked up the notice. "They've had 25 years of party time. Tonight's your turn." My phone buzzed with birthday messages. None from my family, of course. They were too busy with Royal's homecoming preparations, but Leo's message made me smile. "Happy birthday. Don't forget our coffee date at 10. No excuses, birthday girl." The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Leo sat at our usual corner table, 2 steaming mugs waiting. "You look different today," he said as I sat down. "Different good or different bad?" "Different, powerful." He pushed a small wrapped package across the table. "Happy birthday." Inside was a sleek leather portfolio with my initials embossed in gold. "For when you need to look extra professional?" He winked. "It's perfect timing, actually." I ran my fingers over the leather. "I have some important documents to deliver tonight." "The mysterious family situation?" I nodded, then found myself telling him everything. The years of favoritism, the stolen college fund, the house deed, the eviction notice. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. "So, tonight at his party," he said finally, "you're going to take back what's mine." I met his eyes. Does that make me a terrible person? No. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "It makes you someone who finally stopped accepting less than she deserves." Back home, Charlotte had laid out 3 different outfits on my bed. "You need something that says, 'I own this house, and your entire reality is about to change.' I chose a black dress, simple, elegant, devastating. As I got ready, the party preparations appeared in our family group chat. Mom posted pictures of the catering setup, the professional decorations, the custom cocktail menu. "Royal's going to love everything," someone commented. "Our boy deserves the best," Mom replied. I muted the chat and opened my email instead, confirming the movers I'd booked for my parents in 90 days. Professional, efficient, and non-negotiable. "You know what the craziest part is?" I said to Charlotte, as she helped me with my makeup. "I keep waiting to feel guilty, but I don't. I just feel ready." "That's because you're not doing this out of spite," she said, applying my mascara. "You're doing it for justice, for little 10-year-old Whitney who had to clean while she was sick, for college Whitney who had to take extra loans, for every version of you they ignored." My phone buzzed again, a text from Royal. "Hey sis, Mom says you're still being weird about tonight. Look, I know you're jealous of my Ibiza trip, but can't you just be cool? I brought you back a keychain." A keychain for my birthday. After taking my college fund, my car, and years of my parents' attention. That's it. I stood up, grabbing my new portfolio with the eviction notice inside. "I'm going to that party." "What happened to waiting until tomorrow? They want to celebrate." I checked my reflection one last time. "Let's celebrate." Charlotte hugged me tight. "Go get your house, girl." I drove slowly past my childhood home, now lit up like a Christmas display. Cars lined both sides of the street. Music pulsed from inside. Through the windows I could see people laughing, drinking, celebrating my brother's return from his latest escapade. My phone lit up with a message from Leo. "Remember, revenge isn't about cruelty, it's justice with better timing." I touched Grandma's journal in my passenger seat, then the eviction notice in my portfolio. 25 years of being the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who never complained. 25 years of watching Royal take and take while I gave and gave. Well, Grandma had given me something too, and it was time to cash in. I parked around the corner and checked my makeup one last time. The woman in the mirror looked calm, collected, and absolutely certain. "Happy birthday to me," I whispered again, but this time it wasn't sad. This time it was a promise. I stepped out of the car and started walking toward the house. My house, where I could hear my father starting his welcome speech. The front door was open, spilling light onto the porch. Time to crash a party. The sound of clinking glasses and laughter grew louder as I approached the front door. Through the window, I could see Dad standing in the living room, champagne glass raised high. "To our son," he was saying, "who's finally found his path." I stepped into the doorway. The floorboard creaked beneath my heel, and heads turned. The conversations died one by one, like dominoes falling in slow motion. Mom saw me first. Her face went from shocked to angry to carefully composed in the span of seconds. "Whitney," she said tightly, "we discussed this." "Did we?" I smiled, channeling every ounce of Grandma's quiet strength. "I must have missed that conversation while I was uninvited from my own birthday party." Royal pushed through the crowd, already rolling his eyes. "Here we go again. Always making everything about you. Royal!" A girl in a sequined dress stumbled forward, one of his Ibiza friends, Kaya. "Aren't you going to introduce us to your sister?" "She was just leaving," Mom said quickly. "Actually," I opened my portfolio, "I brought something for the party." Dad's speech forgotten, he stepped forward. "Whitney, whatever you're planning—" "Planning?" I pulled out the envelope. "I'm just here to celebrate. Isn't that what families do?" The room had gone completely silent. Even the music seemed to fade into background static as I walked toward my father, heels clicking against the hardwood floors that would soon be mine. "Here, Dad." I held out the envelope. "Happy birthday to me." His hands shook slightly as he took it. Mom pressed against his side, peering over his shoulder as he opened the flap. I watched their faces as they read. The color drained from Dad's cheeks. Mom's hand flew to her throat. "This—" Dad looked up at me. "This can't be real." "Oh, it's very real." I pulled out another document. "And here's the eviction notice. You have 90 days. Royal snatched the papers from Dad's hands. "What eviction? What is she talking about?" "Your grandmother," Mom whispered. She left the house to Whitney. The house? Royal laughed, but it sounded hollow. No way! Dad, tell her she can't do this. He can't tell me anything. I turned to address the stunned party guests. Because as of today, my 25th birthday, this house legally belongs to me, and I'm exercising my right as property owner to evict the current occupants. You vindictive little... Mom started, but Dad grabbed her arm. All these years, he said, his voice rough. Your grandmother was planning this. She was protecting me, the only one who ever did. Kaya, clearly drunk and missing the tension, raised her glass. Oh my God! This is just like that episode in Ibiza, when Royal tried to get on that reality show. Remember how that producer totally... Shut up, Kaya! Royal snapped, but it was too late. Mom's head whipped around. What reality show? The whole trip, Kaya continued, oblivious to Royal's frantic gestures. We spent like 3 days auditioning for Paradise Island, but they said Royal wasn't dramatic enough. Can you believe it? After he spent all that money on... That was my college fund, I cut in. My car money, all blown on a failed reality TV audition. The silence that followed was deafening. Someone's glass shattered in the kitchen. A few guests started quietly gathering their coats. 90 days, I repeated, my voice steady. I've arranged for a moving company. They'll contact you next week to begin planning the logistics. You can't do this to your own family, Mom pleaded, tears starting to fall. Family? I looked around the room at the expensive decorations and gourmet food. Was it family when you made me clean while I was sick? When you took my college fund? When you uninvited me from my own birthday celebration? I brought you a keychain, Royal muttered weakly. Keep it. Consider it a parting gift. I turned to leave, but Dad's voice stopped me. Whitney. He sounded older, suddenly, defeated. You're just like your grandmother. Thank you. I smiled genuinely for the first time that night. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. As I walked out, I heard the chaos erupting behind me. Mom's sobs, Royal's protests, guests awkwardly making excuses to leave. But I didn't look back. My phone buzzed. A text from Charlotte. Well, it's done, I replied. I'll tell you everything over wine. A lot of wine. Another message popped up, this one from Leo. Proud of you, birthday girl. I got into my car and looked up at the house. My house. One last time. Through the window, I could see my family arguing, their perfect party in shambles. Happy birthday to me, I said one final time and drove away into my new life. The aftermath hit faster than I expected. My phone started buzzing before I even made it home. First came the angry texts from Royal. You ruined everything. Mom's crying, Dad's having chest pains, and it's all your fault. Then the guilt trip messages from Mom. How could you humiliate us like this? In front of all our friends? We raised you better. I walked into my apartment to find Charlotte and Leo waiting with wine and takeout. Spill everything, Charlotte demanded, pulling me onto the couch. Before I could start, my phone rang. Aunt Susan, Mom's sister. I put it on speaker. Whitney, what is wrong with you? She screeched. Your mother just called me hysterical. Your father's blood pressure is probably high from all the money he's been giving Royal. I cut in. Did she tell you about my college fund, or was that left out of the family drama report? Silence. Then, well, what college fund? I told her everything. The stolen money, the car, the years of favoritism. By the end, her tone had changed completely. Those idiots, she muttered. I always knew Teresa babied that boy too much, but this is something else. My phone dinged with another message. Kaya, Royal's Ibiza friend. Hey, sorry about spilling about the show thing, but since everything's out now, your brother actually spent way more than he told your parents. He hired this fake producer to coach him and everything. Total scam. Just thought you should know. P.S. Love your dress. I showed the message to Charlotte and Leo. Record everything, Leo advised, reaching for his laptop. Forward me those texts. We'll document every admission, every threat, just in case. In case of what? In case they try to fight the eviction. People get desperate when their comfort zone is threatened. Right on cue, my phone lit up with Dad's number. Put it on speaker, Charlotte whispered. Whitney. Dad's voice was eerily calm. We need to discuss this like adults. Okay, let's discuss how you gave away my college fund without telling me. That was a complicated situation. Really? Because Kaya just told me Royal spent it on a fake TV producer. Seems pretty straightforward to me. He was following his dreams. And I was following my loan payment schedule. Leo started typing rapidly, documenting every word. Look! Dad's voice turned pleading. We can work something out. The house. It's our home. Your mother's garden. Your childhood memories. My memories? I laughed. You mean like watching Royal open his new Xbox while I got school supplies for Christmas? Or how about when you made me give him my birthday money because he lost his wallet? Again. We made mistakes, he admitted. But this is cruel. No, Dad. Cruel is making your daughter feel worthless for 25 years. This is just consequences. The line went quiet. Then, your grandmother would be ashamed. Actually, I pulled out her journal. She wrote exactly what she thought about you both. Want me to read it? He hung up. Moments later, Mom's text. Royal's having a panic attack. I hope you're happy. Royal's having a tantrum, Charlotte corrected, reading over my shoulder. There's a difference. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family, friends, and relatives. Some were angry, some confused, but surprisingly, some were supportive. About time someone stood up to them, wrote my cousin Rachel. Remember when Uncle Curtis made you return your prom dress so Royal could go on that ski trip? I heard what happened, texted my old neighbor, Mrs. Parker. Your grandmother told me what she was planning. She'd be so proud of you right now. Leo looked up from his laptop. I've documented everything. Texts, emails, social media posts. They don't have a legal leg to stand on, but it's good to be prepared. Thank you, I said softly. Both of you, for being here. Always, Charlotte raised her wine glass. To Karma, finally showing up to work. My phone buzzed one final time. Royal again. Dad's talking about lawyers. Says you can't just throw away family like this. I thought about Grandma's journal, about all the times she watched silently, planning this moment. About how family isn't just blood and DNA. It's choices and consequences. Watch me, I typed back. Charlotte refilled my glass. So, what's next? I pulled out the house deed, running my fingers over my name. Next, I start planning renovations. That house needs some serious updates. And your parents? Have 89 days to figure out their next move. Leo raised his glass. To new beginnings. To justice, Charlotte added. To Grandma Evelyn, I said quietly, Who taught me that sometimes the biggest act of love is saying, enough? The moving truck arrived exactly 90 days later. I stood on the sidewalk, watching as strangers carried out pieces of my childhood. Furniture, boxes, memories wrapped in bubble wrap. You don't have to be here for this, Leo said, squeezing my hand. We'd been dating for 2 months now, ever since that night he helped document everything. Yes, I do. Mom and Dad hadn't spoken to me since the party, communicating only through their lawyer. Royal had tried everything. Threats, guilt trips, even a sad attempt at blackmail with embarrassing childhood photos. Nothing worked. That's the last of it, the moving foreman called out, closing the truck's rear door. Mom appeared on the porch, clutching her purse like a shield. I suppose you're happy now. This was never about happiness, Mom. No? She stepped closer. Then what was it about? Punishment? Revenge? Justice. I met her eyes. For every time you made me feel less than royal. For every sacrifice you demanded from me but never from him. We gave you everything. You gave him everything. I earned everything I have. Dad emerged from the house, keys in hand. He looked older somehow, defeated. The garage is empty. Royal's things are in storage. Where is he? I asked, noticing his absence. Bali. Mom sniffed. He needed to heal from this trauma. Used his emergency credit card. Of course he did. Your grandmother, Dad said suddenly. She used to tell me I was making a mistake, that I was teaching Royal the wrong lessons about life. I didn't listen. No, you didn't. And now we're paying for it. You're not paying for anything, Dad. You're just finally not making me pay for everything. A car pulled up. Aunt Susan. She'd offered my parents her guest house while they looked for a new place. As they loaded the last of their personal items into her car, Mom turned to me one final time. This house. She gestured at the building behind us. It won't make you happy. It won't fill the void where family should be. Maybe not, I agreed. But at least it's honest about its emptiness. They drove away without another word. Leo helped me carry in the supplies we'd brought, cleaning materials, paint samples, take-out dinner. You okay? He asked as we sat on the floor of what used to be the living room. I don't know. I looked around at the blank walls, the empty spaces. It feels different. Different good or different bad? Just different. I pulled out Grandma's journal. Like I'm finally seeing it through her eyes. The doorbell rang. Charlotte carrying champagne and Chinese food. Housewarming time! We sat on the floor, eating straight from the containers, planning renovations and new memories. My phone stayed quiet. No texts, no calls, no guilt trips. Oh! Charlotte jumped up. Almost forgot. She ran out to her car and returned with a wrapped package. From your grandmother. What? How? She gave it to me last year, made me promise to wait until today. Inside was a small wooden box, hand-carved with my name. A letter sat on top. My dearest Whitney, if you're reading this, you've finally done it. You've finally stood up for yourself. The house is yours now, but that's not the real gift. The real gift is knowing your own worth. I watched them dim your light for years, telling myself it wasn't my place to interfere. But then I realized sometimes love means making hard choices. Sometimes protection comes in the form of preparation. Inside this box are seeds from my garden, the ones your mother always said were too wild, too uncontrollable. Plant them. Let them grow however they want. Let them remind you that sometimes the most beautiful things come from standing your ground. You are not cruel for demanding respect. You are not wrong for expecting fairness. You are exactly who you were meant to be, strong, resilient, and finally free. All my love, Grandma Evelyn. Leo wiped a tear from my cheek. You good? I looked at the seeds, at the empty house waiting to become something new, at these people who loved me without conditions. Yeah, I smiled. I'm good. Charlotte raised her champagne. To Whitney's house. To Whitney's choice, Leo corrected. To Grandma's garden, I added softly. Outside, the moving truck pulled away, carrying the last pieces of my old life. Inside, surrounded by possibility and unconditional love, I finally felt at home. The garden bloomed wild and free, just like Grandma promised. Purple coneflowers stretched toward the sky, black-eyed Susans danced in the breeze, and her prized roses climbed the newly painted walls. I stood on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint everything gold. The mail truck pulled up. Among the usual bills and magazines was a postcard from Bali. Royal's messy handwriting scrawled across the back. Sis, Mom and Dad are selling their story to anyone who'll listen, but we both know the truth. You won. Congratulations on breaking up the family. Hope you're happy in your empty house. What's that? Leo asked, coming up behind me. Just Royal, still thinking this was a game to win. I tucked the postcard into Grandma's journal. He never understood it wasn't about winning. The doorbell rang. Charlotte burst in, waving her phone. You need to see this. Your mom's been posting on Facebook again. She showed me the latest dramatic update. Another sleepless night in Susan's guest room, wondering where we went wrong. Our daughter chose a house over her family's love. Please pray for us in this difficult time. Still playing the victim, I sighed. Some things never change. But some things do. Leo pointed to the garden. Look who's here. Aunt Susan walked up the path, carrying a box. She'd been different since the eviction, like she was seeing her sister clearly for the first time. I found these while cleaning out the guest room, she said, setting the box down. Your mother was going to throw them away. Inside were photo albums, report cards, art projects. Every trace of my childhood Mom had deemed unworthy of keeping. There's more. Susan pulled out an envelope. Your graduation money from Grandpa, the money your mother lost before it could reach you. I stared at the uncashed check. She kept this? All these years? She kept everything she took from you, like trophies. Susan's voice hardened. I confronted her about it. Want to know what she said? Whitney was always so good at handling disappointment. The words hit like a physical blow. Leo's arm tightened around my waist. But that's not why I'm here, Susan continued. I came to tell you, Royal's reality show audition wasn't his first scam. I found receipts, credit card statements. He's been stealing from them for years, and they've been covering it up, using your money, your opportunities, to fix his mistakes. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know. This house. It's not just karma, it's protection. Grandma Evelyn knew exactly what she was doing. The morning sun caught the roses, making them glow like fire. Grandma's roses, now my roses, blooming despite everything. They're saying you destroyed the family, Susan said softly. But you didn't. You just stopped letting them destroy you. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Royal's in trouble again. We need money. The house could solve everything if you'd just be reasonable. I showed it to Susan. Same pattern. She shook her head. Different day. Not anymore. I blocked the number, feeling lighter with each click. Charlotte picked up Grandma's journal. Want to hear something spooky? Today's entry from 5 years ago. Whitney's learning to garden. Teresa says she's doing it wrong, that the flowers need more control. But Whitney lets them grow wild, strong, beautiful, just like her. Leo smiled. Grandma knew. She always knew. I looked around at my home, not empty anymore, but full of chosen family and honest love. The garden caught my eye again. Among Grandma's flowers, new blooms were emerging. Plants I'd added, colors she never tried, beauty she hadn't planned but would have loved. You know what's funny? I said, watching a butterfly land on the roses. They keep saying I chose a house over family, but that's not what happened at all. No? Charlotte raised an eyebrow. I chose myself. The house was just a bonus. Susan hugged me tight. Your grandmother would be so proud. I know. I smiled at the garden, at Leo, at Charlotte, at this aunt who chose truth over loyalty. And for the first time in my life, I'm proud too. The morning sun climbed higher, warming the garden Grandma planned, and I continued. Wild flowers and careful roses, old growth and new blooms, all thriving together. Just like me. I didn't evict them out of hate. I did it so I would never again live in a place where love had conditions, where worth was measured in sacrifices, where family meant silence. Sometimes karma isn't a boomerang. Sometimes it's a garden, growing exactly as it should, beautiful and untamed, and finally, perfectly free.
The cream-coloured envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. Jordan's elegant handwriting spelled out my name, but I knew what lay inside wasn't just a wedding invitation. It was a summons to face the family that had spent years tearing us both apart. I'm Bridget, and my little sister is getting married? Again. The first time didn't exactly work out. Her fiancé died in a car accident 2 years ago, sending her into a spiral of depression that nearly destroyed her. But now she's found Titus, and I've never seen her smile so bright. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the bride-to-be. Please tell me you got it. Jordan's voice was soft, hopeful. And please tell me you're coming. I traced the edge of the envelope. You know how I feel about family gatherings. I need you there, Bridge. You're the only one who... She paused and I could hear the tremor in her voice. You're the only one who's ever stood up for me. The memory of last Thanksgiving flashed through my mind. Cousin Sarah's snide comments about Jordan's weight, Aunt Margaret's backhanded compliments about how brave it was to wear that dress. I'd wanted to flip the entire dinner table. What about having a small ceremony, I suggested. Just you, me, Titus and his family. They're actually decent human beings. Margaret's already put down deposits everywhere. She insisted on handling everything since... Jordan's voice cracked. Since Mum and Dad aren't here to do it. I gripped the phone tighter. Our parents' absence was another wound the family loved to poke at. As if losing them wasn't bad enough, we had to endure years of whispers about how they must have done something to deserve that plane crash. Did you hear about Grandma Catherine's trust fund? I asked, changing the subject. Someone mentioned it's been reassigned, but nobody knows to whom. Really? Jordan perked up. I thought it was just sitting there since she passed. Margaret's been trying to get her hands on it for years. Apparently, there's been some secret changes. I opened the invitation finally, wincing at the formal script. Speaking of secrets, how many people are coming to this thing? 200, Jordan whispered. Margaret invited practically everyone we're related to, plus half the country club. Jesus, Jordan! I know. But she said family image is everything. And since I'm the first Porter girl to get married since the first time... Stop, I cut her off. This is your wedding, not a family PR event. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Remember what happened after David died? Jordan's voice was barely audible now. How everyone said I was cursed, that I'd never find love again. Titus changed all that. He makes me feel whole again. I want to prove them wrong. Show them I'm not broken. I closed my eyes, remembering how I'd found her that dark night, pills scattered across her bathroom floor. How I'd held her while she sobbed, promising her that life wasn't over. How we'd rebuilt her piece by piece, day by day. Fine, I said finally. I'll come, but I'm not playing nice if they start their usual games. Thank you, she breathed. I've got to run. Margaret's taking me to another dress fitting. She says the last one made me look like a marshmallow. My jaw clenched. Want me to come? No, it's okay. I can handle it. She paused. Bridge? I love you. Love you too, kid. After hanging up, I stared at the invitation again. The date was 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to prepare myself for the inevitable drama, the subtle digs, the poisonous smiles. My laptop chimed with an email notification. It was from a law firm I didn't recognize, marked urgent. I opened it, scanning quickly. Dear Miss Porter, regarding the matter of Catherine Porter's trust fund modifications, I sat up straighter, reading more carefully now. Something about required signatures, legal proceedings, confidentiality agreements, but it was the last line that made my heart stop. As the newly designated sole beneficiary, my phone buzzed again. A text from Cousin Sarah. Heard you got your invitation. Try not to make a scene this time. Some of us still care about family reputation. I looked at the legal email, then at Sarah's text, and felt a smile spread across my face. For the first time in years, I was actually looking forward to a family gathering. Oh, Sarah, I muttered. You have no idea what kind of scene I'm capable of making. I clicked reply on the lawyer's email. Whatever Grandma Catherine had planned with this trust fund, whatever secrets were about to come to light, one thing was certain. This wedding was going to be unforgettable, and not for the reasons anyone expected. The rehearsal dinner was exactly what I expected, a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. I stood near the bar, watching Jordan try to navigate the minefield of family members, each one armed with a smile and a hidden knife. Jordan, darling! Malia's voice carried across the restaurant's private room. That dress is interesting. So brave of you to go with something so unconventional for tomorrow. I took a long sip of wine, catching Jordan's eye across the room. She gave me a small shake of her head, a signal for don't intervene. Yet. Thank you, Jordan replied softly. Titus helped me choose it. Did he? Margaret swooped in, her designer dress rustling. Well, I suppose he comes from new money. They have different tastes. I stepped closer, close enough to hear Jordan's sharp intake of breath. Titus was across the room, thankfully out of earshot, deep in conversation with his parents. Speaking of taste, Sarah chimed in, phone in hand. Let me get a picture of you, Jordan. The lighting here is so interesting. I watched as Sarah deliberately angled her phone to catch Jordan's worst angle. My sister shifted uncomfortably, but Sarah kept snapping away. Perfect, Sarah smirked. These will be great for the family album, or for whatever group chat you're going to mock her in later. I stepped forward, unable to stay quiet any longer. Sarah's face flushed. I'm just documenting the evening, Bridget. Some of us actually care about preserving family memories. Is that what we're calling it now? Ladies, Margaret cut in smoothly. Let's keep things civil. This is a celebration after all. She turned to Jordan. Though speaking of celebrations, dear, are you sure about that pink dress for tomorrow? White is so much more traditional. I love the pink, Jordan said, her voice stronger now. It makes me feel beautiful. Of course it does, Malia laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Though a darker colour might be more slimming. I watched Darren approach with a full glass of red wine, weaving slightly. Hey, cuz, he grinned at Jordan. Big day tomorrow. Hope nothing goes wrong this time. The reference to her first wedding hit Jordan like a slap. I stepped between them. Maybe stick to water, Darren. You're looking a bit unsteady. Just celebrating. He raised his glass, wine sloshing dangerously close to the rim. To the bride. May this wedding actually make it to the I do part. The room went quiet. Jordan's face crumpled. Outside, I grabbed Darren's arm. Now. In the parking lot, I shoved him against his car. What the hell is wrong with you? Can't take a joke, Bridge. He straightened his jacket. Everyone's thinking it. I'm just saying it. If you ruin tomorrow for her... You'll what? He smirked. 'Cause a scene? Make another speech about family loyalty? Face it, you're just mad because Grandma Catherine left you nothing in her will. I kept my face neutral, though my heart raced. They didn't know about the trust fund yet. Good. Back inside, I found Jordan in the bathroom, dabbing at her eyes. I can't do this, she whispered. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm cursed. Look at me, I took her shoulders. You are not cursed. You're survivors, you and me. We survived losing Mom and Dad. You survived losing David. And we're going to survive this family. I heard Margaret and Malia talking earlier, she sniffed. They said my dress looks like a used napkin, and that a little red wine would improve it. My blood ran cold. They what? It's fine, they're probably just joking. But her hands were shaking. A knock at the door interrupted us. It was Titus's mother, Grace. Everything okay in here? I opened the door, letting her in. Grace took one look at Jordan and pulled her into a hug. Your dress is magnificent, she said firmly. And you, my dear, are going to be the most beautiful bride tomorrow. Over Jordan's shoulder, Grace caught my eye. She'd been watching all evening, seeing the family's true colours for the first time. Thank you, Jordan whispered. Now, Grace smiled, let's get back out there. Show them what real class looks like. As we left the bathroom, I caught sight of Margaret and Malia huddled in a corner, whispering and glancing at Jordan's retreating form. Darren was back at the bar, red wine in hand. My phone buzzed. Another email from the lawyer about the trust fund paperwork. Tomorrow, everything would change. They just didn't know it yet. Bridget, Jordan touched my arm. Promise me you won't let them ruin tomorrow? I looked at my sister, strong, resilient, and far too kind for her own good. Then I looked at our family, circling like sharks who'd scented blood. Don't worry, I said, watching Darren stumble with another full glass of red wine. I won't let them ruin anything. What I didn't tell her was that I was planning to do some ruining of my own. The bridal suite buzzed with tension as Jordan stepped into her dress. Pink chiffon cascaded around her like sunset clouds, and for a moment, everything else faded away. She caught my eye in the mirror and smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. You look perfect, I said, adjusting her train. She looks different, Margaret cut in, lips pursed. I still think white would have been more appropriate. Well, thank God no one asked you, I muttered, loud enough for only Jordan to hear. She squeezed my hand in silent thanks. The door burst open as Sarah and Malia swept in, both wearing the champagne-coloured bridesmaid dresses they'd complained about for months. Oh my, Sarah's eyebrows shot up. That's quite a statement. Malia pulled out her phone. We need to document this, for posterity. No photos yet, I stepped between them and Jordan. Makeup's still being finished. Since when are you the wedding coordinator? Sarah snapped. Since I became maid of honour. Now back off. The makeup artist, sensing the tension, worked faster. Outside, guests were already filling the garden venue, their chatter drifting through the windows. 5 minutes until we start. Grace poked her head in. Her face lit up at the sight of Jordan. Oh, sweetheart, you're breathtaking. She certainly takes up space, I heard Malia whisper to Sarah, who snickered. My hands clenched into fists, but Jordan caught my wrist. Not now, she whispered. Please. The ceremony started exactly as planned, which should have been my first warning. Jordan floated down the aisle like a dream, and Titus's face when he saw her, that was real. That was love. But during the vows, I heard it, whispers from the family side of the aisle, like a used napkin. Can't believe she chose pink. Remember the first wedding? I gritted my teeth through the rest of the ceremony, through the pronouncement, through the kiss. Jordan and Titus were lost in their own world, thank God. But I heard every whisper, caught every smirk. The real show started during photos. Let's do family shots first, the photographer called out, arranging us on the garden steps. Careful of the spacing, Margaret Stage whispered. We want everyone to fit in frame. Jordan's smile wavered. Titus, finally noticing the undercurrent, stepped closer to her, Maybe we should take a break, he suggested. Get some water? No time, Margaret insisted. The schedule is tight enough as it is. More photos, more poses, more helpful suggestions about angles and positions that would be more flattering for Jordan. I need a minute, Jordan finally said, her voice shaking. I followed her behind a large topiary. We can leave, I offered. Right now, screw them all. She shook her head. I won't let them win. I won't let them ruin this. Then let me help. Let me say something. No, she gripped my arms. Promise me you won't make a scene. Not yet, please. I wanted to tell her about the trust fund then, about Grandma Catherine's last act of justice, about the power I now held, but looking at her face, determined despite everything, I couldn't steal her moment. Fine, I said. But if Darren comes anywhere near you with that wine glass he's been carrying around... He wouldn't, she said. But we both heard the uncertainty in her voice. Back at the photos, I noticed Darren watching us, swirling red wine in his glass with an odd smile. Sarah and Malia kept whispering and checking their phones. Margaret was directing everyone like a general commanding troops. One more group shot, the photographer called. Everyone squeeze in. As we gathered, I heard Sarah clearly. God, she looks like she's wearing her backup dress from the first wedding. You know, the one that never happened? Something in me snapped. I turned, ready to launch every secret, every truth I'd been holding back. But Jordan's hand found mine again. Not yet, she whispered. Please, Bridge, let me have this part. I swallowed my rage, forced a smile for the camera. But I watched Darren weaving through the crowd with that wine glass. Watched Sarah and Malia typing furiously on their phones. Watched Margaret's calculating eyes taking in every detail she could later critique. The reception was next. Dinner, speeches, toasts, wine. My phone buzzed. Another message from the lawyer confirming everything was in place. I thought of Grandma Catherine's audio diary, safely stored on my phone, of the trust fund documents waiting to be revealed. Time for the reception, Margaret announced. Everyone inside. I watched my sister walk ahead, pink chiffon floating around her like armour, Titus protective at her side. She looked back once, and I saw it in her eyes. She knew something was coming. She just didn't know what. Coming, Bridge, Darren called out, wineglass raised in mock toast. Oh yes, I smiled, touching my phone in my pocket. I wouldn't miss this for the world. The reception hall glittered with fairy lights and false promises. I watched Darren weave between tables during dinner, that damn wine glass still in his hand, getting closer to Jordan with each pass. Time for the first course, Margaret announced, directing servers with imperial authority. Everyone, please take your seats. I sat beside Jordan at the head table, scanning the room. Sarah and Malia had their phones out under the table, giggling. Titus was deep in conversation with his father, his back turned. You okay? I asked Jordan softly. She nodded, but her hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. Just want to get through dinner? Then maybe people will relax. Attention, everyone! Darren's voice boomed as he stood, swaying slightly. I'd like to make an early toast. That's not on the schedule, Margaret hissed, but he ignored her. To my dear cousin Jordan, he raised his glass, red wine sloshing dangerously. Second time's the charm, right? The room went quiet. Titus turned around, frowning. Darren, I warned, starting to stand. He stepped closer to our table. You know what they say about pink wedding dresses? They show every little stain. It happened in slow motion. He stumbled, too perfectly, too deliberately. The wine glass tipped, its contents arcing through the air like bloody rain. Jordan didn't even have time to move. The red wine hit her dress dead center, spreading across the pink chiffon like a wound. For one horrible second, nobody moved. Then the laughter started. Oh my God, Sarah's phone was already up, recording. This is priceless. What a shame, Malia called out, not even trying to hide her smile. But really, pink was such a risky choice. Jordan sat frozen, staring at the spreading stain. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Darren said, but he was grinning. Must be bad luck or something. You son of a... I lunged forward, but Titus got there first. Get out, he said, his voice cold and controlled. Now. It was an accident, Darren protested, but his smirk gave him away. Security, Titus called, and 2 men in suits appeared instantly. Remove him, and anyone else who thinks this is funny. Sarah stopped recording, her face falling. It's just a little wine. Why is everyone so dramatic? Jordan stood suddenly, wine dripping from her ruined dress, and ran from the room. I moved to follow, but Margaret grabbed my arm. Don't make this worse, she warned. We can salvage this. Just need to change her dress. I yanked my arm away. Touch me again, and you'll regret it. I found Jordan in the bridal suite bathroom, sobbing. They planned this, she choked out. I heard them yesterday. They actually planned this. I know. I pulled her into a hug, not caring about the wine stains transferring to my own dress. I'm so sorry. I should have stopped it. Why do they hate me so much? She looked at her reflection, at the ruined dress she'd fallen in love with. What did I ever do to them? Nothing, I said firmly. You did nothing wrong. They're just bitter, hateful people who... Did you know about Grandma's trust fund? She interrupted suddenly. I found something while cleaning out her house last month. An old recording. My heart stopped. What recording? She left an audio diary. She knew what they were like. Margaret, Sarah, all of them. She changed her will before she died. Jordan looked at me. She left everything to you. I know, I said quietly. The lawyers contacted me. Why didn't you tell me? I was waiting for the right moment. I pulled out my phone. I have copies of everything. The legal documents, the audio files. I was going to destroy them with it. Jordan's voice was suddenly stronger. Make them pay? I nodded slowly. That was the plan. She straightened up, wine-stained dress dripping on the marble floor. Do it. They've taken enough from us. Mom and Dad's memory, David's funeral, now my wedding. Her eyes met mine in the mirror. Make them pay. A knock at the door. It was Grace and Titus. Security removed Darren, Titus said, his face dark with anger. I had no idea your family was so... cruel, I supplied. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. What are you going to do? Grace asked quietly. I looked at my phone, at the audio files waiting to be played, at my sister's ruined dress and tear-stained face, at the years of pain and mockery and cruelty crystallized in this moment. I'm going to give a speech, I said, my voice steady. It's tradition, right? The maid of honor always gives a speech. Jordan nodded slowly, understanding dawning in her eyes. Do it. Are you sure? I asked one last time. Once I start, there's no going back. She looked down at her dress, at the red wine spreading like blood across pink chiffon. Some things, she said softly, shouldn't go back. I squared my shoulders and headed for the door. Then let's go give them a toast they'll never forget. The microphone felt heavy in my hand as I walked to the centre of the reception hall. Jordan stood in the doorway, wine-stained but straight-backed, with Titus and Grace flanking her like guards. Everyone, I tapped the mic, my voice echoing through the speakers. I'd like to make a toast. Margaret rushed forward. This isn't the time, Bridget. We need to handle the situation. Oh, we're handling it, I cut her off, my voice steel-edged. Please, sit down. The room rustled with whispers. Sarah and Malia exchanged worried glances, phones finally lowered. You know, I wrote a lovely speech for today, I began, pulling out my prepared notes and deliberately ripping them in half. All about love and family and new beginnings, but I think we need to talk about endings first. Bridget, Margaret warned, don't you dare. Let's start with how you ended my sister's first chance at happiness, I continued. Remember David's funeral? How you told everyone she was cursed? How you turned her grief into gossip? The room went silent. Or maybe we should talk about Mom and Dad's memorial. How you fought over their estate before their bodies were even found. How you told 2 grieving daughters they needed to maintain appearances at the country club. Sarah stood up. You're making a scene. I'm just getting started. I pulled out my phone. Because Grandma Catherine had a lot to say about all of you before she died. Would you like to hear it? Margaret's face went white. What are you talking about? I pressed play. Grandma Catherine's voice, thin but clear, filled the room. I've watched them destroy those girls for years. Margaret, Sarah, Malia, they're vultures. They tried to take everything when their parents died. Now they're after my money, but I'm leaving it all to Bridget. She's the only one who ever stood up to them. Turn that off! Margaret lunged forward, but Titus stepped between us. Keep going, he said quietly. Let's talk about today, I continued, stopping the recording. About how you plan to ruin my sister's wedding. Yes, I heard you yesterday. We all did. The wine wasn't an accident, was it, Darren? Darren, who'd snuck back in, tried to disappear into the crowd. Or how about those photos you've been taking, Sarah? The ones you've been sending to your little group chat? Show everyone what you wrote, about how the dress looked like a used napkin, about how you couldn't wait to accidentally ruin it? Sarah's phone clattered to the table. You want to talk about family reputation? My voice rose. Let's talk about how you bankrupted your own parents, Margaret, how you embezzled from their retirement fund. Oh yes, Grandma knew about that too. It's all in her diary. The crowd murmured. Some guests started to stand, gathering their things. Or maybe we should discuss the real reason Malia's husband left her, the one involving her sister's boyfriend. Stop it! Malia screamed, mascara running. Why should I? I asked calmly. You never stopped. Not when Jordan was suicidal after David died. Not when we were orphaned. Not today, at what should have been the happiest day of her life. I turned to address the whole room. For years, this family has operated on secrets and cruelty. Well, here's one last secret. Grandma Catherine changed her will a month before she died. Everything, the trust fund, the estate, all of it, she left to me. Margaret stumbled back into a chair. You're lying. Check your email. My lawyers sent the documentation an hour ago. And my first act as beneficiary? I smiled. I'm cutting all of you off. No more access to family funds, no more country club memberships, no more power. You can't do this, Sarah whispered. I already have. I looked at Jordan, still standing proud despite her ruined dress. Because that's what family should do, protect each other, not tear each other down. The room erupted in chaos. Margaret lunged for my phone, but Titus's father, a retired judge, stepped in. I'd stop right there, he said firmly, unless you want assault charges added to your problems. I handed the microphone to the DJ and walked to Jordan. She was crying but smiling. I can't believe you did that, she whispered. Neither can I admitted. But it felt good. Titus wrapped an arm around her. What now? I watched as our family members scrambled, some fleeing the room, others demanding to see proof, Margaret having what looked like a complete meltdown by the cake table. Now, I said, we celebrate. But first, I turned to the remaining guests, raising my voice. Anyone who laughed when my sister's dress was ruined can leave. Anyone who's ever spread rumours about her, mocked her, or hurt her, get out. This is a wedding, not a circus, and you're no longer welcome. Half the room emptied. Those who stayed, mostly Titus's family and a few distant cousins who'd always been kind, moved closer, forming a protective circle around Jordan. Ready to restart this reception? I asked her. The right way this time? She looked around at the people who remained, the ones who truly cared, and nodded. Yes, I think I am. You have no right. Margaret's voice cracked through the thinned-out reception hall. That money belongs to the family. Funny, a new voice called from the doorway. That's exactly what you said when you tried to steal from my college fund 15 years ago. Everyone turned. There, in a sleek black dress, stood our long-lost cousin Zariah, the black sheep, the one who'd escaped. What are you doing here? Sarah gasped. You weren't invited. Actually, I smiled, I invited her. Right after Grandma Catherine's lawyers contacted me. Zariah walked in, her heels clicking against the floor. Hello, family. Miss me? Margaret stepped back, face ashen. You're working together. We've been working together for months, Zariah said, pulling out a folder. Ever since Grandma reached out to me before she died. She wanted to make things right. Right? Malia scoffed. You abandoned the family. I escaped the family, Zariah corrected, after you all tried to destroy me, just like you're trying to destroy Jordan now. She turned to my sister, her face softening. I'm so sorry about your dress, cousin, but you still look beautiful. Jordan, still wrapped in Titus's protective embrace, managed a smile. "Thank you, but why are you really here?" "To deliver this." Zariah handed me the folder. "The final paperwork for the trust, and to tell you all exactly how this is going to work." I opened the folder, scanning the documents. "Everything's in order. The transfer is complete." "What transfer?" Margaret demanded. "What have you done?" "Created a new trust," I announced. "One that specifically excludes anyone who's ever used family money to hurt others, which means you, Margaret, are cut off. No more access to the accounts you've been skimming from." Sarah lunged forward. "You can't prove anything." "Actually," Zariah pulled out her phone. "We can. Grandma Catherine kept receipts. Lots of them. Want to hear the recording where you and Margaret planned to forge her signature on those loan documents?" The colour drained from Sarah's face. "Or maybe," I added, "we should discuss the offshore account you've been hiding money in, Margaret. The one you created after embezzling from your parents." "You're making this up," Margaret's voice shook. "No one will believe you." "The FBI might," Zariah said casually. "They're quite interested in financial fraud cases." The remaining guests watched the drama unfold like a tennis match. Titus's father, the judge, stepped forward. "As someone with legal experience," he said gravely, "I'd suggest you all leave now, before this becomes a criminal matter." "This isn't over," Margaret snarled, grabbing her purse. "You'll regret this, Bridget. Both of you will." "Like you regret stealing from your own parents?" Zariah called after her. "Or like you regret what you did to me when I was 18? Margaret froze. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The scholarship letters you intercepted. The acceptance letters you destroyed. Ring any bells?" The room collectively gasped. "That's right," Zariah continued. "She made sure I lost my chance at college, because family image was more important than my future." "Is that true?" One of the elderly aunts stood up, looking horrified. "Margaret, did you really do that?" Margaret's face contorted. She turned and fled, Sarah and Malia scrambling after her. In the sudden quiet, Jordan stepped forward. "Why didn't you tell us sooner? About any of this?" "Grandma Catherine made me promise to wait," I explained. "She wanted to protect the evidence, make sure everything was legally binding, and—" I hesitated. "She wanted it revealed at a family gathering, where everyone could see the truth." "She chose well," Titus's father nodded. "Public exposure is often the best deterrent for future behaviour." "But what happens now?" Jordan asked. "To the family? Now," Zariah smiled, "we build a better one, starting with this wedding. Though first," she pulled a garment bag from behind a chair. "I brought something, just in case anything happened to your dress." Inside was a stunning backup wedding dress, simple but elegant, in the palest shade of rose gold. Jordan's eyes filled with tears. "How did you know?" "Because I remembered what they're like," Zariah said softly, "and I wasn't about to let them win. Not again." As Jordan went to change, helped by Grace and some of Titus's sisters, I turned to Zariah. "Thank you. For everything." "Thank Grandma Catherine," she replied. "She's the one who set this all in motion. She saw what they were doing to you and Jordan, and she couldn't bear it, just like she couldn't bear what they did to me." The DJ started playing music again. The remaining guests, the kind ones, the true family, began to relax, to smile, to celebrate. "Ready to restart this party?" I asked, as Jordan returned in her new dress, looking radiant. She looked around at the smaller, warmer gathering, at Titus's proud face, at Zariah's supportive smile, at the conspicuous absence of toxicity. "Yes," she said firmly. "Now I'm ready." And for the first time that day, her smile reached her eyes. The reception transformed after the toxic relatives left. The air felt lighter, the music sweeter. Jordan and Titus swayed on the dance floor, her new dress catching the light like sunrise. "They're not going to let this go," Zariah said, joining me at the table. "Margaret's already making calls." "Let her," I shrugged, watching my sister laugh as Titus spun her. "We have everything documented." The doors burst open. Margaret stormed back in, waving her phone. "You want proof? Here's proof of what kind of person you really are, Bridget." Security moved forward, but I held up my hand. "Let's hear it." She played a recording. my voice from years ago, screaming at her after David's funeral. "You're going to destroy this family. I'll make sure you pay for what you've done." "See?" Margaret looked around triumphantly. "She's been planning this revenge for years. That's your evidence?" Zariah stood. A grieving sister defending her family? "Play the rest of it," I said quietly. Margaret's face fell. "What?" "The rest of the recording. Where you told Jordan she deserved to lose David. Where you said she was better off alone because no one would want to marry someone like her." The phone trembled in Margaret's hand. "Or should we play Grandma Catherine's recordings?" I pulled out my own phone. "The ones where she caught you discussing how to manipulate her will?" "You're bluffing," she whispered. I pressed play. Grandma Catherine's voice filled the room again. "Margaret came by today, tried to convince me to sign over power of attorney, said I was getting confused about my finances, but I saw her changing numbers in my checkbook. She thinks I'm senile. She doesn't know I've been recording everything. Turn it off!" Margaret lunged for my phone. Titus's father stepped between us. "That's enough. Margaret, leave now, or I'll have you arrested for assault." "This isn't over," she snarled, backing away. "You think you've won? I'll contest the will. You'll what?" Zariah interrupted. "Tell everyone how you stole from your own parents, how you sabotaged my future, how you've been embezzling from family accounts for years." "I have proof of everything," I added. "Every transaction, every manipulation, every cruel word you've ever said to Jordan. Want to test me?" The remaining guests watched in shocked silence as Margaret's composure cracked completely. "You ungrateful brats," she screamed. "After everything I've done for this family." "Security," Titus called firmly. "Remove her, and this time make sure she doesn't come back." As they led Margaret out, her screams echoing down the hallway, Jordan approached me. "Is it really over?" "Almost," I smiled, nodding to Zariah. "Show them." Zariah pulled out another document. "Grandma Catherine left instructions. The trust isn't just money, it's the family property too, including Margaret's house. The one she's been living in rent-free for 20 years. Jordan's eyes widened. "She has 30 days to vacate," I confirmed. "All of them do. Sarah, Malia, anyone who's been living off family money while spreading poison." "But what about—" "The money goes to better causes," Zariah explained. "College funds for the younger generation, support for family members who've been excluded or hurt, and," she smiled at Jordan, "a proper honeymoon fund for you and Titus." Tears spilled down Jordan's cheeks. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll finally take that trip to Greece you've always dreamed of," I hugged her. "Say you'll live your life without their shadows hanging over you." The DJ switched to a slow song. Titus appeared, holding out his hand to Jordan. "May I have this dance, Mrs. Joseph?" She took his hand, then paused. "Bridge? Dance with us?" I shook my head. "This one's yours." As they moved to the dance floor, Zariah touched my arm. "Grandma Catherine would be proud of you, of both of you. I wish she could have seen this." "She did," Zariah smiled. "She planned it, right down to the timing." The remaining guests joined the dance floor. Titus's family, the few loyal relatives, friends who'd stood by us through everything. No fake smiles, no hidden daggers, just genuine joy. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "You've made a huge mistake. Family is everything." I showed it to Zariah, who laughed. "She's right, you know. Family is everything. But family isn't about blood. It's about love." I looked around the room, at Jordan's genuine smile, at Titus's protective embrace, at the supportive faces of people who chose kindness over cruelty. To real family, I raised my glass. To justice, Zariah clinked hers against mine. To new beginnings, Jordan called out, twirling in her rose gold dress. The night continued, but now it felt right. The toxic cloud had lifted, replaced by something genuine and warm, something that felt like hope. And somewhere, I knew, Grandma Catherine was smiling. The morning sun streamed through my office window as I reviewed the final trust disbursement documents. My phone buzzed, a video call from Jordan. "Bridge!" Her face filled the screen, glowing against a backdrop of Santorini's white buildings. "You'll never believe what just happened." "Let me guess. Another angry email from Margaret?" "Better. Sarah tried to break into my social media accounts. Again. She laughed. But that's not the news. Remember that blog post I wrote about the wedding? The one you called the used napkin? How could I forget? It went viral overnight. I've got publishers asking to turn it into a book about toxic family dynamics and standing up for yourself. I grinned. Karma really is something, isn't it? Speaking of karma, she adjusted her camera. Guess who I just saw posting on social media about starting over and learning humility? Margaret's selling real estate now, isn't she? Yep, in a much smaller town, very different from her country club days. A knock at my office door interrupted us. It was Zariah, carrying a familiar-looking box. Found something you need to see, she said, setting it down. Talk later, Jordan. Wait, Jordan called. I want to see this too. Zariah opened the box, pulling out an old photo album and a letter. Was cleaning out Grandma Catherine's last storage unit. Look at this. The letter was dated just days before she died. I read it aloud. My dearest girls, by the time you read this, everything will have changed. I watched for years as they tried to break your spirit, just as they tried with Zariah. I was too weak to stop it then. But I'm not weak anymore. The trust fund isn't just money. It's a chance to break the cycle. Use it wisely. Build something better than they ever could. And Jordan, my sweet girl, wear whatever colour makes you feel beautiful. Pink always was your best shade. Love, Grandma Catherine. She knew, Jordan whispered through the phone. She knew everything. There's more. Zariah pulled out a stack of photos. Look at this one. It was Grandma Catherine at her own wedding, wearing a pale pink dress. My phone buzzed with another message. Margaret. The family is falling apart without me. Hope you're happy. I typed back. We're not falling apart. We're finally coming together. Block her, Jordan suggested. Like I did. Like we all should have done years ago. Actually, I smiled. I think I'll keep her unblocked. Let her see how well we're doing without her poison. Zariah pulled out one last item from the box. A small diary. Listen to this entry. Watched Bridget defending Jordan again today. She reminds me of myself at that age, before I let them change me. This time, I'll make sure the strong one wins. She was playing chess while they were playing checkers, I mused. Bridge? Jordan's voice turned serious. Thank you, for everything, for always protecting me, for making my wedding beautiful in the end. That's what real family does, I said. Speaking of which, how's Titus enjoying Greece? Her face lit up. He's amazing. His whole family is. You know what his mum said yesterday? That she's never seen a stronger sister bond than ours. That we taught her what family should really mean. Grace always was smart. Zariah smiled. Another message popped up, this time from Sarah. Saw Jordan's blog. You'll be hearing from my lawyers. Let them come, I said, showing the message to Jordan and Zariah. We have something they never will. What's that? Jordan asked. The truth, and each other. Zariah picked up the photo of Grandma Catherine in her pink dress. Should we frame this? Put it in the new family room? I nodded. The renovated family estate, now a gathering place for those who chose love over obligation, was almost ready. Perfect spot right above the fireplace, Jordan suggested, where Margaret's portrait used to hang. My phone buzzed one final time, an email from Margaret's lawyer threatening to contest the will. They never learn, do they? Zariah sighed. No, I agreed, deleting the email without opening it. But we did. Hey, Bridge, Jordan called through the screen. I love you, both of you. Love you too, kid, I smiled. Now go enjoy your honeymoon. Let us handle any more family drama. There's a quote I read recently, Zariah said as we ended the call. Family isn't who you're born to, it's who you die for. I looked at Grandma Catherine's letter, at the photo of her in pink, at the strength she'd passed down through generations until it finally broke the chain of toxicity. No dying necessary, I said, just living. Really living. We hung the photo above the fireplace, right where it belonged. Not as a symbol of power or status, but as a reminder that sometimes the biggest act of love is saying enough. And in the end, that's what family should be about. Love, truth, and the courage to choose both.
The lemon-scented disinfectant burns my nostrils as I wipe down my desk one final time. 6 years of loyalty packed into a single cardboard box. Family photos, dead succulents, the coffee mug Truman gave me on our first anniversary. The office feels different at 7 p.m, hollow except for the buzz of fluorescent lights and the faint click of Yolanda's heels approaching. "Vivienne," her silk blouse whispers as she extends a manicured hand. "We appreciate you volunteering for the reduction in force. The severance package should help with your personal matters." I force myself to shake her hand, her signature perfume coating my palm like poison. Behind her, Truman hovers in his tailored suit, expression carefully blank. My husband, the rising star of Hamilton and Myers, who convinced me this layoff was the noble choice. Our best shot at affording another round of IVF. "Of course," I manage. "Family first, right?" Yolanda's smile doesn't reach her eyes. "Indeed, security will escort you out." I shoulder my box, following the guard past familiar faces turned suddenly strange. Past Peyton's office, where she pretends to study her screen, perfectly styled hair hiding her face. My access badge deactivates with a final decisive beep. The drive home feels surreal. I park in our empty driveway, Truman staying late, naturally, and drag myself inside. Our house echoes with the weight of dreams deferred, the nursery we painted yellow last spring, the fertility clinic pamphlets scattered across the kitchen counter. My phone chirps, a photo notification from our shared cloud storage. My thumb hovers over the alert, then taps. The image loads, Truman and Peyton, arms around each other in what I recognise as the executive break room. Her red lipstick matches her power suit. His smile is wider than any I've seen in months. The caption reads, "New beginnings," with a sparkle emoji. Timestamp, 3 hours ago. The bile rises so fast I barely make it to the bathroom. As I kneel on the cold tile, pieces click into place like a toxic puzzle. The late meetings, the changed passwords, the way Yolanda insisted I take the severance package instead of transferring departments. I've been so stupid. My hands shake as I scroll through our cloud folder. More photos appear. Dinner receipts from restaurants I've never visited. Theatre tickets for shows we were supposedly too busy to attend. A lease agreement for a downtown apartment dated last month. The woman in the mirror looks strange. Pale face, red eyes, something feral awakening behind them. I am not this person. I refuse to be the sad ex-wife, the failed baby maker, the disposable employee written off as collateral damage in someone else's love story. I open my laptop, fingers flying across the keys. They think I'm just the admin assistant who brought coffee and scheduled meetings. They forget I had access to everything: emails, contracts, financial records. 6 years of digital keys to the kingdom, backed up meticulously in case of system failure. Yolanda's voice echoes in my head from this morning. "Clean out your desk completely, leave nothing behind." Oh, I didn't leave anything behind, I took it all. My phone buzzes again. Truman, working late, don't wait up. I text back, "No problem, sweet dreams." Then I open a new document and begin to type, my purpose crystallizing with each word. They wanted to write me out of their story? Fine, I'll write my own ending. The house creaks and settles around me as darkness falls. In the silence, I can almost hear the sound of bridges burning, of masks slipping, of karma sharpening her claws. Let them think they've won. Let them celebrate their clean execution of a perfect plan. They forgot who holds the keys to their kingdom. They forgot I know where all the bodies are buried. Most importantly, they forgot about Hazel, Yolanda's mother, the company's founder, who always had a soft spot for me, who gave me her private email, just in case. I begin composing a message to her, my hands steady now. The first domino is about to fall. The company laptop sits on my kitchen table like a loaded gun. I've disabled the webcam with electrical tape. Paranoid, maybe, but necessary. My tea has gone cold, forgotten hours ago when I discovered my login still worked. Someone in IT dropped the ball, failing to revoke my system access. Probably River, who always had too many tickets in his queue. The clock reads 2 a.m. Truman texted earlier that he's crashing at the office to meet a deadline. Right. I navigate to Slack, heart pounding. My old channels are greyed out, but I can still access the archive. I find Peyton's private messages easily. She uses the same password for everything, her cat's name and birthday. Amateur. The messages load. My stomach turns. Truman, miss your smile already? Dinner tonight? Peyton, your place or mine? Truman, mine. V's at another fertility appointment. That was 3 months ago. The day I sat alone in the clinic waiting room because he had an emergency board meeting. I scroll further, documenting everything. Their first kiss in the parking garage. Weekend getaways disguised as business trips. Plans for their future. My future. Rewritten without my consent. A voice message notification catches my eye. I plug in my earbuds, finger hovering over play. Hey beautiful, Truman's voice fills my ears, intimate and warm in a way he hasn't been with me in months. Just wanted to hear your voice. You were amazing in that presentation today. Yolanda's impressed, says you're exactly what this company needs. Unlike some dead weight we're finally cutting loose. The timestamp matches the day before my layoff. My hands shake as I disconnect the earbuds, his laugh still echoing in my head. That familiar sound, once comforting, now raises goosebumps on my arms. I force myself to keep searching. Hidden in Peyton's archived files, I find what I'm really looking for. Financial reports, annotated with her comments. Discrepancies highlighted in angry red. Notes about creative accounting and Yolanda's special projects. A new message pops up in their chat. Peyton, you sure about this? Seems risky. Truman, trust me, Mum's handled worse. Besides, V signed the severance agreement. She can't touch us. I screenshot everything, organizing files with mechanical precision. My fingers move automatically while my mind races ahead, plotting coordinates on the map of their destruction. The laptop chirps, battery low. As I reach for the charger, my hand knocks over a framed photo on the table. Us on our wedding day, Truman dipping me for a kiss while Yolanda looks on approvingly. The glass cracks on impact. Perfect. I pick up my phone and compose an email to Hazel. I hope this finds you well. I've discovered some concerning information about Hamilton and Myers' financial practices that I believe requires your attention. Would you have time for coffee this week? There's so much we should discuss. I attach a single screenshot, just enough to hook her interest without showing my full hand. Hazel may be retired, but she still owns controlling shares. More importantly, she despises dishonesty almost as much as she loves her granddaughter's ambitions. Send. The laptop screen casts a blue glow across the kitchen as I continue mining data. Each message, each file, each secret meeting agenda is another nail in their coffin. They think the severance agreement protects them. They don't realize that corporate fraud nullifies everything. My phone buzzes. Hazel's response, Vivienne, dear, Café Laurent, 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll have my usual table. I close the laptop, finally feeling tired. Through the kitchen window, I watch the sun rise over our perfectly manicured suburban lawn. Somewhere across town, my husband is waking up in another woman's bed, probably congratulating himself on how smoothly everything worked out. Let them have their morning. By sunset, their world will begin to unravel, one carefully pulled thread at a time. My mouth feels like sandpaper as I stare at the spreadsheet, its cells glowing an artificial green in the pre-dawn light. I've been at this for hours, cross-referencing numbers until my vision blurs. The desktop fan whirs steadily. the only sound besides my racing heartbeat. These aren't just accounting errors. They're deliberate manipulations, each one carefully crafted to inflate the company's value. Yolanda's digital fingerprints are everywhere. Tracked changes, comment histories, revision logs that she thought she'd deleted. I take another sip of cold coffee, willing my hands to stop shaking. 6 years of processing payroll and expense reports taught me to spot irregularities. But this is different. This is systematic. A new email notification breaks my concentration. Truman. Hey babe, grabbing breakfast with the team. Don't wait up tonight. Big client dinner. I click back to the spreadsheet. There it is, hidden in plain sight. A series of shell companies, each one funneling money through increasingly complex channels. The employee layoffs weren't about cost-cutting. They were eliminating witnesses before a massive corporate sale. My phone rings, startling me. Hazel's name flashes on the screen. Vivienne! Her voice is sharp, clear. I've reviewed what you sent. Be at my house in an hour. Bring everything. The line goes dead before I can respond. I gather my laptop and external drives, hands moving on autopilot. The morning air is crisp as I drive to Hazel's estate, past manicured hedges and a security gate that opens automatically for me. She's waiting in her study, steel grey hair perfectly coiffed despite the early hour. Shh, Shami, she commands, gesturing to her massive mahogany desk. I connect my laptop and pull up the files. Look at these vendor payments. They're routing money through fake companies, then marking up services that don't exist. The recent layoffs, they're not in any of the official records. According to these books, those salaries are still being paid. Hazel's eyes narrow as she scrolls through the documents. And my daughter orchestrated this? Yolanda and Truman both. They're preparing the company for sale to Global Ventures, but they're inflating the value by millions. The books are completely falsified. And Peyton, what's her role? My throat tightens. She's helping them hide the evidence in exchange for promotions. Hazel's expression doesn't change, but her knuckles whiten around her coffee cup. You have proof of their relationship. I pull up the Slack messages, the photos, the apartment lease. Hazel absorbs it all in silence. They used my severance package to help fund their scheme, I say quietly. The money they saved from layoffs is being channeled into fake accounts. They're going to walk away rich while dozens of families lose everything. Hazel stands abruptly, pacing to her window. The morning sun catches the silver in her hair. You understand what you're asking me to do? My own daughter? My grandson? I'm asking you to look at the evidence. They're not just betraying me. They're betraying everything you built. She turns back, something dangerous flickering in her eyes. Tell me, Vivienne, what do you want? Justice. The word tastes like metal on my tongue. Not just for me, for everyone they've hurt. Hazel returns to her desk, pulls out a leather portfolio. Global Ventures has been trying to buy us for years. I always suspected they had someone on the inside. She extracts a business card. This is my personal attorney. Call him today. Tell him everything. I take the card, my fingers trembling slightly. But understand this, she continues, voice hard as granite. Once we start, we finish. No half measures. Are you prepared for that? I think of Truman's laugh in that voice message, of Yolanda's cold smile as she handed me my severance papers, of Peyton's perfectly practiced innocence. Yes, I say, I'm prepared. Hazel nods once, decisively. Then let's begin. As I drive home, the morning traffic feels surreal. Somewhere in the city, Truman and Peyton are probably sharing breakfast, planning their future. Yolanda is likely already at her desk, moving numbers like chess pieces. They have no idea what's coming. The acrid smell of burnt toast yanks me from my laptop screen. I've been so focused on the security feed that I forgot about breakfast entirely. On my monitor, Truman and Peyton share coffee in the executive break room, their body language intimate despite the public setting. "Try this," he says, offering her a bite of something. The audio quality is excellent, another oversight in my still active permissions. Peyton giggles, leaning close. My stomach churns, but I keep watching. Document everything. That's what Hazel's attorney said. A notification pops up. "Unusual login activity detected." River from IT is finally doing his job. I quickly switch to a different VPN, heart pounding. The warning disappears. I force myself to eat the charred toast while scanning email threads. Yolanda's calendar shows a meeting with Global Ventures next week. The acquisition is moving faster than expected. My phone buzzes. A text from Truman. "Missing you. Dinner tonight." The casual tenderness makes my fingers shake. Does he send Peyton the same messages? I don't respond. Back on the security feed, River appears in the break room. My pulse spikes. "Hey, boss," he addresses Truman. "Getting some weird activity logs. Might need to audit the access permissions." Truman barely looks up from his phone. "Anything serious?" "Probably not. Looks like Vivian's old login is still active. Want me to kill it?" Peyton stiffens slightly. Interesting. "Nah, it's just Vivian," Truman waves dismissively. "She probably forgot to log out of some cloud storage. You know how she is with technology." If only they knew how many hours I spent learning the system's vulnerabilities while playing dumb. How many coffee runs were actually reconnaissance missions. River shrugs. "Whatever you say, just following protocol." After he leaves, Peyton touches Truman's arm. "Maybe we should be more careful." "Relax," he says. "She signed the papers. It's done." I switch cameras, following them as they return to their offices. The familiar hallways look different through the surveillance lens, sterile, exposed, like a crime scene. A new email arrives from Hazel's attorney. "Documents received. Meeting scheduled with SEC next week. Maintain current access, but proceed with caution." My hands tingle with adrenaline as I navigate through the system. Each click feels dangerous now, like defusing a bomb. But I find what I need. Internal memos about the Global Ventures deal, projected valuations based on falsified data. The security feed shows Yolanda entering Truman's office. I turn up the volume. "Everything's proceeding as planned," she says. "Board meeting next month for the final vote. Once the sale goes through, we'll all be set for life." "And the other employees?" Truman asks. "Collateral damage. Can't make an omelette without breaking eggs." Just like I was collateral damage. An egg broken for their perfect omelette of greed and betrayal. My phone buzzes again. River. "Hey, noticed you still had some active logins. Want me to clean those up for you?" My throat tightens. River was always friendly, always professional. For a moment, I consider confessing everything. Instead, I type, "Thanks, already deleted everything important. No worries." His reply comes quickly. Cool. Let me know if you need anything. Sorry about the layoff, BTW." If he only knew. On screen, Yolanda leaves Truman's office. Moments later, Peyton slips in. They think they're being subtle. They don't realize how obvious they are from above, like actors on a stage. I save another batch of screenshots, trying to ignore the way my skin crawls when they kiss. This isn't about their affair anymore. It's about justice for everyone they're planning to destroy. A final email from Hazel. "Dinner tonight. Bring the latest." I close the security feed and gather my evidence. Let them have their secret meetings, their stolen kisses, their illusion of control. Let them think I'm home crying over burnt toast and broken dreams. They see what they want to see. Just Vivian, the technologically challenged ex-wife, the failed baby maker, the disposable employee. Their blindness is my weapon, and I'm just getting started. The airport security chair's polyester upholstery scratches against my bare legs as I wait, passport clutched in sweaty hands. My weekend bag sits abandoned on the conveyor belt while a stern-faced TSA agent peers at his screen. "Ma'am, there seems to be an issue with your identification," he says, voice flat. "Please remain seated." My heart pounds. I'd booked this Miami trip on impulse, 3 days of anonymity, space to think. Now the fluorescent lights feel too bright, too exposing. A second agent appears, this one older with steel grey hair. "Ms. Vivienne?" She studies a document. "You were arrested in 2016 at an environmental protest." The memory floods back. Standing outside that oil company's headquarters, my sign raised high, the pepper spray burning my eyes. I'd been 22, idealistic, certain I could change the world. "That case was dismissed," I say carefully. "All charges dropped. You're flagged in our system as a person of interest, an activist with potential," she consults her tablet, "disruptive tendencies." The humiliation burns hotter than the pepper spray ever did. Around us, other travellers hurry past, avoiding eye contact. I force my voice to remain steady. "I work in corporate administration. That protest was years ago. I'm just trying to take a weekend trip." "Your employment status shows as recently terminated," the first agent cuts in, "and your search history includes multiple visits to whistleblower websites." "They've been monitoring my internet activity. Of course they have. Stupid, stupid, stupid." "I was laid off," I say, the half-truth bitter on my tongue. "I've been job hunting. Those websites have career advice sections." The female agent studies me. I meet her gaze, channeling Yolanda's Ice Queen confidence. Inside, my pulse races like a trapped bird. "What's in Miami?" she asks. "My college roommate's baby shower." Another lie, smooth as silk. I have the invitation on my phone. She gestures for me to show her. Thank God I'd created a fake email trail as backup. She scrolls through the convincing evite, complete with registry links and RSVP chain. "And you're planning to return?" "Monday morning. I have a job interview Tuesday." I pull up that email too. A real one, ironically, that I never planned to attend. Minutes crawl by as they make calls, check databases. My phone buzzes, Truman asking where I am. I ignore it. Finally, the female agent returns my passport. "You're cleared to fly, but understand you'll be subject to additional screening, both now and in the future." I nod, legs shaky as I stand. They escort me through security, watching as I retrieve my bag. Every eye feels hostile, suspicious. In the terminal bathroom, I splash cold water on my face. My reflection looks haunted. They're watching me now. Really watching. One wrong move and I'll lose everything. I call the airline, cancel my ticket. The change fee costs a fortune, but I can't risk it. This has to be handled from home, carefully, methodically, no impulsive escapes. My phone buzzes again. "Hazel, where are you? Critical updates." I text back. "Plans changed. Home in 30. The Uber ride home gives me time to think. I need to scrub my digital footprint, create better covers. They're tracking my searches, my history, amateur mistakes I can't afford. At home, I power up my laptop with fresh determination. First, download a better VPN, then encrypt everything, create secure backups. The evidence against Truman and Yolanda needs to be bulletproof, untraceable. A notification pops up. Truman's location sharing shows him at work. The map pin sits squarely on Peyton's apartment building. Let them think they've scared me off. Let them believe their system's caught a potential threat. They don't realise they've just shown their hand. Now I know exactly how they track people, and exactly how to disappear from their radar. I begin typing, my fingers flying across the keys. No more mistakes, no more flags, just careful, invisible progress toward the day everything crashes down. The coffee's bitter aroma fills my home office as I triple-check the file attachments. Everything's organised with surgical precision, financial records, surveillance screenshots, email threads. The evidence of their betrayal, both personal and professional, wrapped up in neat digital packages. My cursor hovers over the send button. Once I do this, there's no going back. My phone lights up. Truman, coming by to grab some files from the study. You home? I don't respond. Instead, I click send. The email to Hazel whooshes away, carrying with it 6 weeks of careful documentation. Proof of Yolanda's creative accounting, evidence of Truman and Peyton's affair, including receipts from their secret apartment. Most damning, records of the fraudulent sale preparation, complete with falsified employee records. I take another sip of coffee, letting its sharpness ground me. 3 minutes pass. 5, 10. My screen flashes. Hazel's reply, her signature crimson digital stationery filling my monitor. My dear Vivian, I suspected, but seeing it laid out like this, meet me at the club in 1 hour. Bring your lawyer's contact information. And, Vivian, you were always too good for him. I'm grabbing my keys when I hear Truman's car in the driveway. Perfect timing. He walks in without knocking. Technically still his house, too. He's wearing the blue suit I bought him last Christmas, Peyton's favourite scarf around his neck. Hey, he says cautiously. You weren't answering? Just working. I gesture to my laptop, updating my resume. He moves toward the study, then hesitates. How are you holding up? The audacity almost makes me laugh. Surviving? How's work? Busy? Big changes coming? He runs a hand through his hair, his tell when he's lying. Listen, about the layoff. My phone buzzes. Hazel again. Where are you? I need to go. I cut him off. Lock up when you're done. I grab my laptop bag, watching his reflection in the hallway mirror as I leave. He's already heading to the study, probably searching for anything I might have found. He won't find the evidence. It's too late for that. The drive to the country club feels surreal. Clouds gather overhead, promising rain. I used to love storms. Now they feel like an omen. Hazel waits in her usual corner booth, Manhattan already in hand. 2 thick folders sit before her. Sit, she commands. Tell me when you first suspected. I explain everything, the layoff, the photos, the financial discrepancies. Her face hardens with each detail. My daughter, she says finally, has forgotten where she came from. Who built this company? She slides 1 folder to me. Sign these. Inside, paperwork making me a protected whistleblower, backdated by 2 months. Legal documents preserving my evidence chain. A contract for a new position at a competing firm. The board meets next week, Hazel continues. Yolanda will present the sale proposal. She expects me to rubber stamp it like a doddering old fool. Her smile turns predatory. I do love disappointing her. Thunder rolls outside as I sign the papers. Each signature feels like another nail in their coffin. What about Truman? I ask. And Peyton? Oh, darling. Hazel sips her Manhattan. They're just pawns. Yolanda's the queen in this game. Take her down. And the rest fall naturally, I finish. She nods approvingly. You understand strategy. Good. You'll need that in your new position. My phone buzzes again. Truman asking where I've gone, what files I've taken. I silence it. 1 week, Hazel says. Keep monitoring, keep documenting, but touch nothing else. I gather my things, but she catches my wrist. Vivienne, remember, they expect you to break down, to act rashly. That's why they'll never see it coming. Rain starts falling as I drive home, washing the world clean. In 7 days, everything changes. 7 days until Yolanda presents her masterpiece of fraud to the board. 7 days until Hazel springs the trap. I check my rearview mirror, watching the country club disappear in the storm. Somewhere across town, Truman is probably with Peyton, celebrating their clever plan. Yolanda is likely rehearsing her presentation, confident in her control. Let them enjoy it. The chess pieces are moving, and they don't even know they're playing. The sharp scent of toner fills the air as printers across the office spit out subpoenas. I stand in the lobby, officially here to collect personal items, watching chaos unfold through the glass security doors. Federal agents move with quiet efficiency, their badges glinting under fluorescent lights. Employees huddle in clusters, whispering, phones raised to capture the moment their world implodes. "Miss?" A security guard approaches. "You can't. She's with me." Hazel appears, keycard extended. "Come, dear." We ride the elevator in silence. Through the windows, I spot news vans arriving, their satellite dishes reaching skyward like metal flowers. The executive floor is eerily quiet until, "You can't do this!" Yolanda's voice echoes from the boardroom. "This company is my life." "Was your life?" Hazel murmurs, leading me past the commotion. Through the glass walls, I see Truman standing frozen behind his mother, face drained of colour. His eyes meet mine for a fraction of a second. Recognition, horror, understanding. Two agents flank him as another reads from a document. His hands shake as they take his phone, his laptop. The blue suit he's wearing, the one I bought him, is wrinkled from nervous fidgeting. "Keep walking," Hazel instructs softly. We pass Peyton's office. She's packing quietly, efficiently, her resignation letter already on her desk. Smart girl, cut losses early. My heart pounds so hard I wonder if others can hear it. Months of preparation crystallizing into this moment. Hazel's office smells of leather and power, all mahogany panels and filtered sunlight. She closes the door just as raised voices erupt from the hallway. "You did this!" Yolanda's accusation carries through the walls. "Vivienne, I know you're here." Hazel calmly presses a button and privacy glass frosts over. The shouting becomes muffled, then silent as security intervenes. "Sit," she says, pouring 2 fingers of scotch into cut crystal glasses. "You'll want to watch this part." Through the window, we have a perfect view of the building's front entrance. Minutes tick by. The scotch burns my throat. Then, movement. The main doors open. Cameras flash as Truman emerges first, head down, flanked by agents. Yolanda follows, chin high, defiant even in handcuffs. The perp walk plays out like a scene from a movie I never wanted to star in. "Global Ventures pulled out an hour ago," Hazel says conversationally. "The SEC is quite interested in those creative accounting practices you uncovered, as is the IRS." My hands tremble slightly. "And the employees, the ones they laid off, being contacted now with generous restoration packages." She sips her scotch. "You have quite a mind for details, Vivienne, and an impressive talent for strategic patience." Below, the news vans jostle for position as Truman and Yolanda are guided into separate vehicles. My soon-to-be ex-husband looks small suddenly, diminished without his carefully constructed facade. "What happens now?" I ask. Hazel sets down her glass. Now we rebuild. The board has approved emergency restructuring. We'll need someone who understands both operations and ethics, someone who's proven they can handle complex situations. She slides a contract across her desk. My name is on top, followed by Chief Operating Officer. "I'm not qualified," I whisper. "You orchestrated the exposure of a multi-million-dollar fraud while maintaining perfect deniability. You protected whistleblower status while gathering evidence. You played the grieving ex-wife while systematically dismantling their entire scheme." Her smile is razor-sharp. "You're overqualified." Through the window, I watch the police cars pull away. 6 years of fetching coffee, scheduling meetings, being invisible, all while learning every detail of how the company actually ran. Your office is down the hall, Hazel continues, the one with the corner view. I suggest you start by reviewing the remaining executive team. Clean house as needed. I pick up the pen, its weight significant in my hand. Below, employees stream out of the building, shell-shocked and searching for answers. Welcome to the family business, Hazel says as I sign. The real one this time. I stand, smoothing my skirt. Through the frosted glass, I can see people waiting for direction, for answers, for leadership. Time to get to work. Morning sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, turning my new office walls to liquid gold. The paint smell still lingers, a crisp, clean scent of fresh starts. My desk, a sleek glass and steel affair, holds only essentials: laptop, security protocols, and a box of still-warm pastries from River. The network penetration testing is done, he says, grabbing his third croissant. Flaky crumbs dust his keyboard as he types. We're officially more secure than most government facilities. I smile, remembering how quickly he jumped ship from Hamilton and Myers to join my startup. Any vulnerabilities? None that I can't patch. He grins, though I'm still mad I never caught you during the surveillance op. That was some serious ghost work. The memory of those tense weeks feels distant now, like watching someone else's movie. My phone buzzes, a text from my lawyer. Truman's plea deal is final. No trial needed. Speaking of security, River continues, Hazel's here for the contract signing. Right on cue, my former mother-in-law's mother sweeps in, immaculate as always. Her heels click purposefully across the polished concrete floors. Vivienne, she says warmly, setting her briefcase down, the space suits you? It does. Industrial chic meets modern tech with none of the stuffy corporate pretense of Hamilton and Myers. My company, my rules. River, give us the room, I say. He grabs another pastry before leaving, closing the door behind him. Hazel extracts a thick contract from her briefcase. Full security overhaul for all my subsidiaries, plus consultation on the restructuring. I scan the terms while she helps herself to coffee. The numbers make me blink. More zeros than I earned in 3 years as an admin. Generous, I observe. Fair, she corrects. You've proven your worth, and I protect valuable assets. My phone buzzes again. Truman's contact photo appears, an old vacation snap from happier days. I haven't answered his calls since the arrest. Hazel notices. Still reaching out? Last attempt, I say, pulling up his contact info. The divorce is final today. She watches as my thumb hovers over delete contact. In the background, I hear River laughing with our new junior analysts. Life moving forward. You know, Hazel says carefully, some might say you were harsh, that the punishment exceeded the crime. I think of the other employees they hurt, the families disrupted, the trust destroyed. They made their choices, I reply. I just made sure there were consequences. She nods approvingly. Speaking of consequences, Yolanda's trial starts next month. I know. The subpoena arrived yesterday. Star witness for the prosecution. And Peyton took a job on the West Coast. Smart move. I sign the contract with a flourish. Everyone lands where they deserve. Hazel stands straightening her impeccable suit. Dinner soon, that new French place downtown. I'd like that. After she leaves, I stay at my desk, watching sunlight paint patterns on the wall. My team's voices drift in. River teaching the new hires about encryption, our project manager reviewing client lists. My phone lights up one final time. Truman. Please, we need to talk. I open his contact page, finger hovering over delete. Through the glass walls, I see my company taking shape. People I chose, working towards something real. No lies, no manipulation, no fake smiles or hidden agendas. Delete. The action is simple, anticlimactic. just pixels rearranging themselves, erasing 6 years of history. I pick up a croissant, savor the buttery layers melting on my tongue. My new business cards arrived this morning, sleek and minimalist. No married name, no borrowed authority, just me, my credentials, and the future I built from the ashes of their betrayal. River pokes his head in. Ready for the team meeting? We've got 3 new clients waiting. Coming, I say, gathering my laptop. The morning stretches ahead, full of possibility. Somewhere across town, Truman faces his first day of house arrest. Yolanda prepares for trial. Peyton starts over in Seattle. But here, in this sun-filled space that smells of fresh paint and pastries, I'm exactly where I need to be. They thought they were writing me out of their story. Instead, I wrote my own.
The numbers swam before my eyes as I stared at my laptop screen. $3,000 transferred to an account I'd never seen before. Another $4,000 the month before that. The transactions stretched back almost a year, each one a precise knife twist in my gut. I'm Emily, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I knew everything about my husband's finances. We'd built our life on transparency, or so I believed. The shared spreadsheets, the joint accounts, the careful planning, all of it now felt like an elaborate joke at my expense. "Hey, babe, have you seen my charcoal pencils?" Tom's voice floated down from his studio upstairs. The same voice that had promised me honesty 3 years ago at the altar. The same voice that had apparently been lying to me for months. "No," I called back, my own voice steady, despite the tremor in my hands. "Tom, could you come down here for a minute?" The wooden stairs creaked under his feet. He appeared in the doorway, paint-splattered jeans, and that easy smile I used to find so charming. Now it just made my stomach turn. "What's up?" He leaned against the doorframe, casual as ever. "Want to explain these transfers to an account under your parents' name?" The smile flickered, died. His shoulders tensed, and for a moment, he looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then the mask slipped back into place. "Oh, that. Mom and Dad have been having some trouble with their mortgage. I've been helping them out a bit." "A bit?" I turned the laptop toward him. $7,000 last month alone. Without telling me. They're my parents, Emily. What was I supposed to do, let them lose their house? You were supposed to talk to me. We're supposed to be partners. He ran a hand through his hair, leaving a streak of blue paint near his temple. You wouldn't have understood. You've always been weird about money. Weird about money? The laugh that escaped me didn't sound like my own. Is that what you call wanting to know where our savings are going? They raised me, Emily. They gave me everything. I owe them. And what about what you owe me? What about our future? I scrolled through the transactions again. This is our down payment for a house. Our emergency fund. Our future children's college fund. Their family, he said, as if that explained everything. I'm your family too. Or at least I thought I was. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I caught his mother's name on the screen. Of course. Margaret always had impeccable timing. I need to take this, he said, already turning away. No. I slammed the laptop shut. You need to explain why you've been lying to me for months. I haven't been lying. I just didn't want to worry you. Didn't want to worry me? The words tasted bitter. Or didn't want me to stop you from bankrolling your parents' lifestyle? His face hardened. You don't understand my relationship with them. You're right. I don't understand lying to your spouse. I don't understand stealing our future to fund your parents' present. His phone buzzed again. This time he answered it, turning his back to me. Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm on my way. Just need to grab those papers. I sat there, watching my husband walk away from our marriage one step at a time, up those creaking stairs to his studio. The truth hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't just fighting Tom's deception. I was fighting against Margaret's influence, against years of manipulation I'd been too blind to see. The laptop screen glowed accusingly in the growing darkness. Somewhere upstairs, Tom was probably already arranging another transfer, another betrayal dressed up as filial duty. Fine. If this was how they wanted to play it, I could play too. But they were about to learn that I played to win. The doorbell chimed just as I finished hiding the bank statements in my home office. Margaret's silhouette loomed through the frosted glass, her shadow stretching across our welcome mat like an omen. "Emily, darling." She swept in, designer purse swinging from her arm, bringing with her the cloying scent of expensive perfume. "I brought lunch. We need to talk about the garden party next weekend." I forced a smile, knowing exactly what was coming. Every conversation with Margaret was a carefully choreographed dance of criticism wrapped in sugar-coated concern. "Actually, I have a work deadline." "Nonsense." She was already unpacking containers onto my kitchen counter. "Family comes first." That's something modern women seem to forget these days. The way she said modern women made it sound like a disease. I watched her arrange the food with military precision, noting how she'd brought enough for 3, despite knowing Tom was at his studio. "Tom tells me you've been asking questions about our financial arrangements." Her voice was casual, but her eyes were sharp as she handed me a plate. "I hope you understand how important family support is." "Support should go both ways, Margaret." "Of course it does, dear." She settled at my kitchen island like she owned it. "We've given Tom everything, his education, his artistic opportunities. Now it's natural for him to want to give back." My fork scraped against the plate. "With our joint savings? Marriage is about sharing, isn't it?" She dabbed her lips with a napkin. "Though I suppose that's hard to understand when you're so focused on your career." The word dripped with disdain. I thought about the hidden bank statements, about Tom's betrayal, about all the times Margaret had undermined me while smiling to my face. "Actually, I understand sharing perfectly. What I don't understand is secrecy." "Oh, Emily." She reached across the counter to pat my hand. I resisted the urge to pull away. "You're making such a fuss over nothing. Tom's just being a good son. Surely you don't want to come between him and his family?" "I am his family." "Of course you are, dear. For now." She smiled, showing too many teeth. "But blood is thicker than water, isn't it?" My phone buzzed, a message from Tom. "Mom says you're being difficult about the money. Can we talk later?" Of course. She'd probably texted him the moment she sat down. "Margaret," I said, setting down my fork. "Do you know how much Tom has been transferring to your account?" Money is such a vulgar topic of conversation. Not when it's my money being spent without my knowledge. Her smile faltered. "Tom knows what he's doing. He doesn't need his wife questioning his decisions about his family." "Our family. Our decisions. Our money. You're being very ungrateful, Emily." She stood, gathering her things. "After everything we've done for you both. Robert and I have always treated you like a daughter." "No," I said quietly. "You've treated me like a threat." She paused at the door, her face a perfect mask of hurt confusion. "I can see you're upset. We'll discuss this when you're thinking more clearly. The garden party is at 2 on Saturday. Wear something appropriate this time." The door clicked shut behind her, but her presence lingered like a bad smell. My phone buzzed again, Tom asking why I was upsetting his mother. Of course he'd take her side. He always did. I opened my laptop, pulling up our joint account again. A new transaction had posted while Margaret was here, another $2,000, transferred not 30 minutes ago. She must have texted Tom during lunch, and he jumped to do her bidding without a second thought. My hand shook as I took screenshots of everything. 3 years of marriage, and I'd never seen what was right in front of me. I wasn't just fighting financial betrayal, I was fighting a carefully constructed system of control. With Margaret pulling the strings and Tom dancing to her tune. Fine. If they wanted to play family politics, I could play too. But first, I needed to make a call. I picked up my phone and dialed. Samantha? I need your help. It's time to start planning my exit strategy. The gallery opening should have been Tom's moment of triumph. Instead, I stood in the corner, clutching a glass of cheap wine, watching my husband lie through his teeth about our financial situation. The series sold remarkably well, he told a potential buyer, gesturing at the abstract canvases lining the walls. Almost everything's been claimed already. I knew better. I'd seen the real sales figures that morning, exactly 2 pieces sold, and at half the asking price. The rest was fiction, just like our marriage. Emily. Margaret's voice cut through the crowd. She glided toward me in an expensive new dress, Robert trailing behind her like a well-trained shadow. Darling, why are you hiding back here? Come celebrate Tom's success. Success. Right. I took another sip of wine, remembering the credit card statement I'd discovered that morning. $20,000 in new charges, gallery rental, catering, promotional materials. All on our joint card, all without a word to me. The show looks wonderful, I said, the lies tasting bitter on my tongue. Of course it does. We always knew Tom would make it as an artist. Margaret beamed. Though it helped that Robert and I knew the right people to invite tonight. And the new car in your driveway? Did the right people help with that too? Her smile flickered. Robert suddenly found the floor fascinating. Tom insisted, she said. After all we'd done to support his career, it's the least he could do. The least he could do. With our money. Our future. I watched Tom across the room, charming another potential buyer, with that easy smile I used to trust. Emily. David from work appeared at my elbow, a welcome interruption. I didn't expect to see you here. David. I didn't know you were interested in art. I'm not, usually. But when I saw Tom's name in the paper. He glanced at Margaret, who was watching our interaction with narrowed eyes. Could I borrow you for a minute? There's something you should see. He led me to a quiet corner, pulling out his phone. Remember that audit I mentioned last week? Well, I found something interesting about Thompson Gallery Services. My heart stopped. That was the company Tom had insisted he needed for his art business, the one I'd helped him set up 3 years ago. What about it? The payments don't match the reported income. Not even close. David showed me the screen. Either your husband's the worst accountant in history, or he's hiding money. The pieces clicked into place, the missing funds, the suspicious transfers, Margaret's new car. Emily? Tom's voice behind me. I turned to find him staring at David's phone, his face pale. What are you doing? Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. I held up the phone. Want to explain these numbers? This isn't the time or place. When is the time, Tom? When the account is completely empty? When your parents have bled us dry? Margaret materialized beside him. Emily, you're making a scene. No, Mother, I spat the word like poison. I'm finally seeing the scene you've been directing all along. The gallery had gone quiet. Faces turned toward us, hungry for drama. Everything I've done has been for our family, Tom said, reaching for my arm. I stepped back. No. Everything you've done has been for their family. I was just the convenient bank account. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I set down my wine glass with deliberate care. I understand that while I was working 60-hour weeks to support your art, you were funneling money to your parents. I understand that every time I sacrificed for our future, you were sacrificing our future for them. Emily, please. I'm done. The words came out calm, certain. Done with the lies, done with the manipulation, done with all of it. I turned to David. Thank you for showing me this. I'll need copies for my lawyer. Margaret gasped. Tom's face crumpled. But for the first time in months, I felt light, free, certain. I walked out of the gallery into the cool night air, leaving behind the wreckage of my marriage and the sweet satisfaction of finally speaking the truth. My phone buzzed. Samantha, right on cue. Is it done? Yes, I said, smiling into the darkness. It's done. And I'm just getting started. Samantha's kitchen had always been my safe haven, but tonight even the familiar scent of her signature chai couldn't calm my racing thoughts. 3 missed calls from Tom, 6 from Margaret, and 1 very interesting email from David about Thompson Gallery Services financial records. They'd been living like royalty, I said, scrolling through the documentation David had sent. 5-star restaurants, luxury vacations, spa weekends, all while Tom told me we needed to tighten our belts for his art career. Samantha set a steaming mug in front of me. Have you talked to a lawyer yet? Tomorrow morning. I wrapped my hands around the warm ceramic. But there's something else. What? The mortgage payments Tom claimed he was making for his parents? Their house was paid off 3 years ago. Before our wedding. Samantha's eyes widened. So where did all that money really go? My phone buzzed again. Tom. I silenced it, but not before seeing his message. Please come home. We can fix this. I'll tell you everything. You're not actually considering it, are you? Samantha asked, reading my expression. I don't know what I'm considering anymore. I pushed away from the counter, pacing. 3 years, Sam. 3 years of lies, manipulation, and theft. And you know what the worst part is? I still love him. How pathetic is that? It's not pathetic, it's human. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But love isn't enough when there's no trust. My phone lit up with a text from David. Found something else. Can we meet tomorrow after your lawyer appointment? Emily. Samantha's voice was gentle but firm. What's your endgame here? Revenge? Reconciliation? You need to decide. Before I could answer, someone knocked at her front door. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Margaret's perfectly coiffed hair. How did she? Tom must have tracked your phone, Samantha said, already moving to block the door. You don't have to talk to her. But Margaret's voice carried through anyway. Emily, darling, please. This family falling apart is breaking Tom's heart. He hasn't eaten, hasn't slept. I felt the familiar pull of guilt, the urge to smooth things over. Then I remembered the financial records, the lies, the years of manipulation. Emily's not available, Samantha called through the door. And if you don't leave, I'm calling the police. This doesn't concern you, Margaret snapped. Emily, think about what you're throwing away. Think about Tom's career, his future. His future? I moved to the door, anger burning away uncertainty. What about my future? The one you've been systematically stealing? We can explain everything, Margaret's voice softened. Come home. We'll talk it through as a family. Family? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Is that what you call people you exploit? Silence from the other side of the door. Then, Roberts had a heart attack. My hand froze on the doorknob. Samantha grabbed my arm, shaking her head. She's lying, she whispered. It's manipulation. He's asking for you, Margaret continued. The doctors say. I yanked open the door. Margaret stood there, perfectly composed, no signs of distress or hospital visits on her designer outfit. Robert's fine, isn't he? I said quietly. This is just another lie. She straightened, mask slipping. Sometimes we do what's necessary to protect our family. No. You do what's necessary to control your family. There's a difference. You ungrateful. Goodbye, Margaret. I closed the door in her face, turning back to Samantha. I think I just found my endgame. Which is? They wanted to play family? I pulled out my phone, pulling up David's message. Let's see how they handle having their perfect family facade torn apart in public. Every lie, every manipulation, every stolen dollar, all of it exposed. Emily. No more guilt. No more manipulation. I typed a quick response to David, meeting confirmed. Bring everything you've found. Through the window, I watched Margaret retreat to her luxury car, the one my money had helped buy. Soon she'd learn that karma wasn't just a concept. It was coming for all of them, and I was going to be its delivery system. The lawyer's office felt too small, too warm, as David spread the documents across the mahogany desk. Each paper was another nail in the coffin of my marriage, another revelation that made my hands shake. Tax fraud, David said quietly. Not just misappropriation of funds. They'd been using your joint business to launder money for years. My wedding ring caught the fluorescent light as I reached for the papers. 3 years of marriage reduced to spreadsheets and bank statements. How much? Close to $500,000. He hesitated. Emily, this isn't just about divorce anymore. This is criminal. My phone vibrated, another message from Tom, please come home. Mom's hysterical. Dad's threatening to disown me. We can fix this. I switched it off. What are my options? I asked the lawyer, Catherine Mills, who'd been silently taking notes. We can file criminal charges, she said, but that means public record. Everything comes out, the fraud, the manipulation, all of it. Including my name on those business documents, I added. I signed them too. Under false pretenses, David interjected. We have proof Tom misrepresented. A knock at the door interrupted him. Catherine's assistant stepped in, looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but there's a Margaret Thompson insisting on speaking with Emily. She says it's about Robert's health. That trick again? I started to refuse, but David held up his hand. Let her in. You need to hear this. Margaret swept in like she owned the place, but I caught the cracks in her facade, smudged mascara, trembling hands. Emily, you have to stop this madness. Her voice cracked. Robert. The stress. He's had a real heart attack this time. Like the fake one you invented yesterday? This is different. He's in intensive care. The doctor said. Mrs. Thompson, Catherine interrupted, are you aware that threatening or attempting to manipulate my client could be considered harassment? Margaret's mask slipped completely. You think you're so clever, don't you? Digging up our private affairs, threatening our family's reputation? What about Tom's career? His future? What about my future? I stood, anger finally overwhelming caution. The one you stole? We gave you everything. A place in our family, connections. You gave me lies. I picked up one of the documents. Like this vacation to the Maldives last spring? When Tom told me he was at an art retreat? She paled. That's not. Were these spa weekends? The shopping sprees? All while I worked overtime to support your son's struggling artist lifestyle? Emily, David warned softly, but I was beyond stopping. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady, despite my racing heart. You're going to sign a confession admitting to the fraud. All of you, Robert, and Tom. You're going to repay every penny you stole from me. Or I go public with everything. You wouldn't dare. It would destroy Tom. Like you destroyed my trust? My marriage? My financial security? She reached for her phone. I'm calling Tom. Go ahead. I spread the documents across the desk. Tell him to bring his checkbook. And a pen. Margaret's hand froze over her phone. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You're bluffing, she whispered. I pulled out my own phone, pulling up the local newspaper's contact information. Want to bet your country club membership on that? Your social standing? Your freedom? The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Then Margaret did something I'd never seen before, she crumpled into a chair and began to cry. "What do you want?" she asked between sobs. I looked at Catherine, who nodded slightly. "Everything," I said. "And you have 24 hours to decide." As Margaret fled the office, David touched my arm. "Are you sure about this?" I stared at the documents scattered across the desk, each one a reminder of 3 years of lies. "No," I admitted. "But I'm sure about one thing, they're about to learn that Karma takes Visa, MasterCard, and cashier's checks." The game was changing. And this time I was writing the rules. The moving truck idled in our driveway as I unlocked the front door for the last time. 24 hours had passed since my ultimatum, and the Thompson family's response had been silence. Pure, calculated silence. Until now. Tom sat at our kitchen table, head in his hands. Margaret stood by the window, arms crossed, while Robert, apparently recovered from his heart attack, leaned against the counter. "You're really doing this?" Tom's voice cracked. I set my box of packing supplies on the counter. "The movers will be in soon. You might want to clear out." "Emily." Robert stepped forward, his usual passivity replaced with something harder. "We've spoken to our lawyers. They say you're equally liable for any financial irregularities. Mutual assured destruction?" I laughed. "That's your play?" "We're trying to protect our family," Margaret snapped. "Your family?" I pulled out my phone, showing them the screen. "Like these photos of your Maldives vacation? The one where Tom was supposedly at an art retreat? The society pages would love these." Tom's head snapped up. "You wouldn't. Try me." The movers appeared in the doorway. I gestured them toward the stairs, but Margaret blocked their path. "This is still our house." "Actually," I cut in, "it's not. Check the deed. I bought it with my income while Tom was struggling to launch his career." "You vindictive little." "Mom." Tom stood suddenly. "Can you give us a minute?" Margaret opened her mouth to protest, but Robert touched her arm. They left, Margaret's heels clicking against the hardwood like tiny hammers. "I loved you," Tom said quietly once we were alone. "I still love you. Love doesn't empty bank accounts. I can explain everything. Save it." I turned to the movers. "Start upstairs. Master bedroom." Tom grabbed my arm as I tried to pass. "Please. Just listen. Mom and Dad. They sacrificed everything for my art. When they needed help, they manipulated you into stealing from your wife." I jerked away. "And you let them? We can fix this. Pay you back." "With what money?" "The gallery's failing, Tom. Your parents are broke. And you." I gestured around our house, at all the things we'd built together. "You never really wanted this, did you? A real marriage, a partnership. You wanted a bank account with a pulse." His face crumpled. "That's not fair. Neither is fraud." The movers thundered down the stairs with our bedroom furniture, my furniture now. Tom watched them carry out pieces of our life together, each item a silent accusation. "If you do this," he said, voice low, "if you expose everything, you'll destroy us all. Including yourself." I pulled out an envelope. "Then sign the confession. Admit what you and your parents did. Pay me back, and I'll keep quiet. You know we can't afford. Sell the vacation house. Margaret's jewelry. Your father's collector cars." I stepped closer. "Or I press charges, and everyone learns how the respected Thompson family has been operating." "Emily." "Your choice, Tom. But choose fast. My lawyer's waiting." He stared at the envelope, hands shaking. Then Margaret burst back in. "Don't you dare sign anything." She snatched the envelope. "We'll fight this." "We'll." "You'll what?" I turned to the movers. "Take everything except his art supplies. Those were bought with stolen money anyway. Margaret ripped the envelope to shreds. You think you've won? We'll destroy you. Every connection, every opportunity. Mom, stop. No. She needs to learn. I walked out while they argued, leaving them to their mutual destruction. Outside, David waited in his car, ready to follow the moving truck to my new place. You okay? He asked as I slid into the passenger seat. I watched Tom and Margaret's silhouettes through the window, still fighting, still trapped in their toxic dance. 3 years of my life gone, my financial security in shambles, my reputation potentially ruined. No, I admitted. But I will be. I pulled out my phone and opened the email I drafted to the local newspaper. My finger hovered over send as David started the car. Sometimes karma needed a little push. The newspaper headline hit like a bomb. Local artist family accused of financial fraud. My finger trembled over the screen as social media notifications flooded my phone. The Thompson family's carefully constructed facade was crumbling, one share at a time. I hadn't pressed send on that email. Someone else had beaten me to it. My new apartment's doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Tom, looking haunted. Margaret stood behind him, her perfect makeup unable to hide her rage. I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. How did you find me? David, Tom said quietly. He thought we should talk. Of course. David's misplaced sense of fairness. I'd have to deal with that betrayal later. There's nothing to discuss. You destroyed us, Margaret hissed. Are you happy now? I didn't publish that story. Liar. She tried to push past me, but I held my ground. Robert did. The words hung in the air like smoke. Tom's face went slack with shock. Margaret grabbed the doorframe for support. What? Check your phone, I said. He's probably confessed to everything by now. Tom pulled out his phone, hands shaking. His father's message was there, just as I'd predicted. I'd received my own copy an hour ago. Dad would never. He stopped reading, color draining from his face. Turns out your father has a conscience, I said. Unlike some people. Margaret snatched the phone, her carefully manicured nails clicking against the screen. As she read, her mask finally cracked completely. That weak-willed fool, she spat. After everything I've done for this family. Everything you've done? Tom's voice cracked. Mom, you're the one who told me to hide the transfers from Emily. You're the one who. I was protecting you. Your art, your future. My future? He laughed, bitter and hollow. Look around, Mom. My marriage is over. My reputation is ruined. The gallery's finished. What future? I watched them unravel, feeling strangely empty. This was my revenge, served not by my hand but by karma itself. We can fix this, Margaret insisted, turning to me. Emily, if you just tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. Like you told everyone Robert's heart attack was real? She flinched. Or how about the art sales you faked? The tax records you doctored? I pulled out my phone. Should I keep going? Please, Tom whispered. Emily, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. It's too late. I stepped back into my apartment. Robert's confession is just the beginning. The police have everything. Margaret's face contorted. You vindictive little. Mom, stop. Tom grabbed her arm. Haven't you done enough? For the first time, I saw Tom stand up to his mother. Too little, too late. I loved you, I told him quietly. But love without trust is just another form of manipulation. You taught me that. Emily. Goodbye, Tom. I started to close the door, then paused. Oh, and Margaret? The country club called. They're revoking your membership. Apparently, fraud doesn't fit their image. Her scream of rage was cut off by the closing door. I leaned against it, listening to their arguing voices fade down the hallway. My phone buzzed, a message from Robert, "It's done. I'm sorry for everything. The police have my full statement." Another buzz, "David, I'm sorry I told them where to find you. But you needed this closure." And finally, "Samantha, you okay?" I looked around my new apartment, at the boxes still waiting to be unpacked. At the fresh start I'd bought with 3 years of pain and betrayal. "No," I typed back. "But I will be." I walked to the window, watching Tom help his sobbing mother into their car, no, her car, bought with my money. Soon they'd learn just how expensive karma could be. The Thompson family was about to discover that sometimes the greatest revenge isn't what you do to others, it's letting them destroy themselves while you walk away free. The last box from my old life arrived on my doorstep, unexpected, unasked for. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, lay my wedding album and a letter in Tom's messy scrawl. I set the album aside without opening it and unfolded the letter. The words blurred, then sharpened. "Emily. Dad took a plea deal. Mom's facing trial. The gallery's finished. You won. Or maybe we all lost. I don't know anymore." My phone buzzed, "Samantha," sending me a link to another news article. Margaret Thompson, society maven, charged with financial fraud. The mighty had fallen, their empire of lies, crumbling to dust. I crumpled Tom's letter, but couldn't quite throw it away. Not yet. The doorbell rang. David stood there, holding coffee and looking uncertain. "Thought you might want company," he said, then noticed the box. "Oh. Bad timing?" "Perfect timing, actually." I grabbed my coat. "Let's go somewhere else." We walked to the park where Tom had proposed, though I didn't tell David that. The autumn air carried the scent of endings and beginnings. "Robert called me," I said, watching a family play frisbee nearby. "He's testifying against Margaret. Says Tom finally moved out of their house." "Are you okay?" I considered the question, really considered it. I thought revenge would feel better than this. But I didn't actually do anything. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped protecting them from the consequences. A jogger passed, leaves crunching under her feet. In another life, that could have been me, running from my problems instead of facing them. The detective handling their case called, I continued. Asked if I wanted to press additional charges. And? I said no. I sipped my coffee, letting the warmth spread through my chest. Enough people have been burned by this fire. David nodded, understanding what I wasn't saying. Sometimes the best revenge was simply walking away, head held high. My phone buzzed again, an email from my lawyer. The divorce was final. No contests, no delays. Tom had signed everything without argument. You know what the strangest part is? I said, closing the email. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. A child's laughter carried across the park, pure and unburdened. I thought about the wedding album sitting in that box, about the young woman who'd smiled so hopefully at the camera, believing in forever. What will you do now? David asked. Live, I said simply. On my own terms. We walked back to my apartment in comfortable silence. The box still sat by the door, Tom's crumpled letter beside it. Want help getting rid of that? David gestured at the box. No. I picked up the letter, smoothing it out. One line caught my eye. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to be the man you deserved. At least he'd finally told the truth about something. I struck a match, watching the flame dance. The letter caught quickly, curling into ash in my kitchen sink. The wedding album would go to Goodwill, let someone else's memories live in those pages. Emily? David hesitated at the door. There's an art exhibition next weekend. Nothing fancy, just local artists. If you'd like to. Not yet, I said gently. But ask me again sometime. After he left, I stood at my window, watching the city lights blink on one by one. Somewhere out there, the Thompsons were facing their own darkness, their carefully constructed world falling apart. But that wasn't my story anymore. I opened my laptop, pulling up the novel I'd started writing, not about revenge or betrayal, but about redemption. About a woman who learned that sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemies, but in refusing to let them destroy you. The cursor blinked, waiting. Outside, a siren wailed, then faded. The city moved on, indifferent to personal dramas and private wars. I began to type.